Chapter 2135. DMO Xian's deep eyes were cold and stern. Grandma, long time no see. Do you still have me in your heart? The Imperial Palace's grandma was furious. DMO Xian looked at her calmly. This lord has yet to congratulate Grandma for becoming the Wind Emperor's grandma and taking charge of your own Wind Emperor Palace. You, Granny of the Imperial Palace. No, she should be called Granny Wind Empress now. Granny Feng Di stared fiercely at DMO Xian as the fury in her heart made her eyes red. DMO Xian, Granny has protected you for so many years. I'd not expected that. For a woman, you actually treat Granny like this. Good, good. Grandma has raised an ingrate. Granny Wind Emperor's chi and blood surged. After shouting this, he couldn't help but cough violently. DMO Xian remained expressionless. There was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. Xian, outside the door. Yiqing Luo heard the commotion in the house. He also heard his grandmother's furious curses. Yiqing Luo immediately pushed open the door and rushed in. As expected, he saw Granny Wind Emperor carrying Feng Ling in her arms, standing face to face with DMO Xian. Little vixen, how dare you appear in front of me? The minute Granny Wind Emperor saw Yiqing Luo, all the suppressed anger in her chest exploded at this instance. Granny Wind Emperor let out a furious roar. Around Granny Wind Emperor's body, countless surging and thick, profound energies surged. One after another, it blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it slammed down towards Yiqing Luo's direction. How dare you? DMO Xian's eyes turned cold as he rebuked in a low voice. The purple sleeves were like rolling clouds, stirring up all the surrounding air currents. Bang, bang, bang. A deafening collision sound rang out. Madame Yuchi's bedroom was blasted apart by the two powerful dark forces. Yiqing Luo's delicate body was brought into DMO Xian's embrace. He waved his sleeve again. The profound energy released by Granny Wind Monarch was easily suppressed. Granny Wind Emperor dodged in time, so she wasn't hurt by her own profound energy. DMO Xian. Granny Wind Emperor's face was gloomy. Her malicious eyes were filled with a biting, cold sharpness. DMO Xian shielded Yiqing Luo behind him. The frost on his face was so thick that eye shards could fall off. That pair of deep ink-like eyes were dark and gloomy, and they were bone-chilling. It was as if his eyes had just swept past them. He would fall into an endless ice cellar. Even Granny Wind Emperor couldn't help but feel shocked. The last time in the blazing flame nest, DMO Xian had already shown mercy. But that time, even if she had shown mercy, she could clearly feel the disparity between her and DMO Xian. What she relied on, it was just that DMO Xian had once been taken care of by her in Nirvana Realm for a few months. DMO Xian didn't care about this. Then Granny Wind Emperor shivered and did not dare to continue thinking about it. With this lord around, whoever dares to lay a hand on little Luo will be making an enemy out of this lord. DMO Xian looked at Granny Wind Emperor coldly. His icy cold gaze was extremely oppressive. Granny Wind Emperor's face turned pale. She hugged Feng Ling tightly. Her eyes flashed, and she suddenly stepped back. Then his figure flashed, and he was about to leave. DMO Xian's eyes turned sharp as he gave off a burst of murderous aura, trying to hurt little Luo and still dare to run. He let go of Yiqing Luo, and the wind under his feet chased after her. His palm wind was about to land on Granny Wind Emperor, blocking the both of them. Suddenly, a burst of powerful black energy descended from the sky, blocking in front of Granny Wind Emperor. DMO Xian's palm landed on that black energy. Immediately following that, an indistinct, unreal figure appeared in that ball of black energy. Chapter 2136. The moment that shadow appeared, Granny Wind Monarch carried Feng Ling as she took the opportunity to escape. DMO Xian wanted to chase after her, but was entangled by that ball of black energy once again. DMO Xian's brows creased tightly as he looked at the direction where Granny Wind Monarch's figure disappeared. He waved his sleeves impatiently as he split apart the black energy. This time, the black energy didn't continue to tangle with Xian. Instead, it gathered towards the direction of that blurry shadow in the void. The more it gathered, the fainter that shadow became. Xian's expression instantly sunk. This thing, why did it feel like? Could it be? Xian's heart suddenly tightened. Nirvana realm looked like it was getting more and more chaotic. Did the people from the upper realm really think that God realm no longer existed? The black energy slowly dissipated in midair. Along with that blurry shadow, it also disappeared. Yiqing Luo looked at the direction where that shadow disappeared in shock as she felt extremely astonished. There was actually something that could block Xian's palm. Furthermore, it was able to tangle with Xian and successfully escape. That thing, what on earth was it? And that shadow, what on earth was it? Yiqing Luo was filled with puzzlement as she looked at Xian. She instantly threw it to the back of her mind. Side profile kill. Because of the battle between Xian and Granny Wind Monarch, as well as that black energy. The pitch-black sky kept on flashing with lightning, tearing a huge hole. Lightning lit up as it shone on Xian. That tall and straight figure. His purple luxurious robe seemed to be plated with a layer of light. It showed his nobility and elegance. Perhaps Xian was deep in thought. That peerless, handsome face, his side profile was extremely cold, giving off a suffocating sense of oppression. Tightly pursed thin lips, the lip lines were alluring, as though inviting her to come forward to have a taste. Hence, Yiqing Luo's mind was filled with a man's charms. Amen, he had no moral principles. He had no bottom line. In front of beauty, everything could be thrown away. Xian. Yiqing Luo rushed forward and hugged Xian's waist. Oh, my man is so handsome, so handsome. The young lady's sweet voice was filled with love and possessiveness, successfully pleasing Xian. He turned around and wrapped an arm around her soft body. Yiqing Luo cooperated as her arms circled around his neck, her charming eyes sparkling. Tiptoeing, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pressed onto Xian's. She kissed him on the lips and sucked on his lips like how he usually did to her. That sentence, "You hurt Lil Luo, and you still want to run," was enough to make Sue explode. After Yiqing Luo sucked on it, she moved her head away and leaned toward his shoulder. Oh, my maiden's heart has swelled up. Xian, how can you be so handsome? The other party was Granny Wind Empress. Xian had repeatedly laid his hands on Granny Wind Emperor for her. This is also using action to show. In the future, when she met Granny Wind Emperor and her granddaughter again, she didn't need to show any mercy at all. Ever since the founding of the Wind Emperor Palace, the so-called friendship between them had long since vanished into thin air. This man, the way he was always thinking about her, was so handsome. Since I'm so handsome, would you be satisfied with just a kiss? Xian's thin lips curled up slightly as he looked at the young lady's sparkling, adoring gaze. His heart became extremely soft. He suppressed his magnetic voice as he panted with a trace of emotion. Lil Luo, or just a kiss. Are you really satisfied? He circled Yiqing Luo's waist tightly as his large palm directly clasped onto the back of Yiqing Luo's head. Chapter 21:37. The young lady's face was flushed red, like a budding flower. The same tender, sparkling red lips seemed to be tempting to approach. The man's scorching temperature scorched Yiqing Luo's body. Her eyelashes fluttered as she realized something, trying to break free from his hand and avert her gaze. But the man's strength was too strong. How could she break free? The back of her head was firmly fixed in the man's broad palm. Yiqing Luo's cheeks turned even redder. The man's pheromones enveloped her in an overwhelming manner. Yiqing Luo's fingers unconsciously curled up, clutching the collar in front of his chest. Her delicate body softly fell into Xian's arms. You torturous little demoness, you only know how to seduce me. Yiqing Luo bit her lips, staring at him. Only when this man's gaze locked onto her. Her entire body went soft, panting heavily, her heart beating rapidly. This man was really poisonous. He was a demoness who made her want, but not able. I'm only seducing you. DMO Xian's large palm held her face. Following that, he kissed her deeply. His actions were gentle, bit by bit, guiding her to respond. A soft peace licked open her trembling pink lips. His low, hoarse voice bewitchingly came from her lips. Lil Luo, is there anything important tomorrow? Yiqing Luo was unable to control her tender panting and moaning. Hearing DMO Xian's words, Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled violently. How could she not understand the meaning of his words? Her fingers tightened again, as her charming eyes were filled with a layer of mist, revealing a hint of wetness. Evildoer, stinky evildoer. Lil Luo, if you don't answer, it means that you've tacitly agreed. There's nothing tomorrow, DMO Xian laughed softly beside her ear. His slightly trembling body, an extremely hard texture, rubbed against her petite body. Right now, she was already ignited by the man. She was extremely sensitive and could feel the toughness of his body, especially the man's ending tone, the last completely made her body limp and powerless. She forcefully held on as her fingers grabbed his clothes tightly, raising her misty eyes, staring at him. On her lips was his saliva. DMO Xian, you're dead meat tonight. She forcefully pulled his body towards her. Go back to my room. DMO Xian's deep inky eyes flickered with a red gleam. Two thin lips kissed her forcefully. His hands encircled her tightly. Yiqing Luo only felt a cold breeze on her cheek. Before he could react, her body was already pressed down to the ground. It was a soft bed and a familiar scent. This is her room. Looking at the peerless face on his body, he felt a chill run down his spine. Yiqing Luo's fingers tugged hard as she forcefully kissed his lips. See how I deal with you. The next day, when Yiqing Luo woke up, it was already noon. She felt sore all over and stretched lazily. He struggled to get up from the bedding. The next moment, her body, along with the bedding, was encircled into the man's warm embrace. Little Luo, good morning. A man's hoarse voice rang in her ears. Yiqing Luo lazily closed her eyes and leaned her weight on the man. Ah, Xian, it's all your fault. I'm almost drained by you. DMO Xian laughed out loud. His long and narrow peach blossom eyes were flowing with amorous ripples. He whispered, yes, it's my fault. So as punishment, I have to help you wash up and change your clothes. Xiao Yu and the rest are waiting for you. Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly opened. That's right. She had forgotten. Xiao Yu had just inherited the position of Three Springs Sect's patriarch yesterday. Three Springs Sect had to be reorganized once again, and Yifeng Ru's matter had yet to be confirmed. Chapter 2138. By the time Yiqing Luo and DMO Xian reached the main hall, it was already 1 hour later. Stepping into the hall, Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings of the hall. Yifeng Yu was sitting in the main seat. Behind Yifeng Yu stood Yifeng Ru, who was dressed in a simple yet elegant robe. His head was lowered, and his thoughts were blank. Ling stood beside him. The lower seats on the right side of the hall were occupied by the sect elders. He did not see the figure of the old ancestor. When the two of them entered, Yifeng Yu stood up and wanted to welcome them. Before he could walk down from the main seat, he saw Yiqing Luo leaning lazily on DMO Xian's shoulder, yawning as she walked to the soft chair by the side to sit down. Yifeng Yu halted his steps. Although he was still young, with the status of the Yi family, he had long known about this matter. Even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen a pig run. In the past, the students in the academy were all only 13 or 14 years old, and they all had several servant girls who served as servants. After such a long time, Yifeng Yu more or less understood some things. Seeing Yiqing Luo in this state, appearing in the main hall, everyone knew what had happened last night. DMO Xian hugged Yiqing Luo and sat down on the two-seater soft chair. Yifeng Yu then regained his senses and hurriedly stood up to greet DMO Xian. Dmo Xian brother-in-law. The others also stood up and bowed towards Dmo Xian. We pay our respects to the Overlord. Yi Fengyu's voice overlapped with everyone else's. When the sect's elders saw Yi Qing Luo and Dmo Xian walking hand in hand in the main hall, his heart leapt up to his throat. When she heard how Yi Fengyu addressed Dmo Xian, his old face instantly turned pale. Dizun brother-in-law, the Overlord, and Yi Qing Luo. What kind of relationship? Although he had heard that the Overlord had spent the night in Yi Qing Luo's courtyard, he had also heard that Yi Fengyu had asked Ziling to summon Yi Qing Luo several times, but was always blocked by the Overlord. A man and a woman, alone in a room at night. The next day, the woman fell into a deep sleep. As someone who had lived for hundreds of years, how could he not guess what had happened last night? But in the hearts of the sect elders, Dizun was high and mighty. He was a legendary figure. Compared to Yi Qing Luo, that kind of 15-year-old yellow-haired little lass who hadn't even fully grown her hair at most. She could only play around. After all, Yi Qing Luo's face was indeed a source of calamity. He also had the capital to bring calamity to the country and the people. However, when she heard Yi Fengyu call her brother-in-law, she felt a chill run down her spine. The elders of the sect panicked. We're all a family. No need for formalities. Dmo Xian said indifferently. Yi Fengyu's lips curled into a smile. He returned to his seat and sat down again. His face was filled with joy from seeing his sister and brother-in-law's good relationship. Big sister, actually, after knowing that brother-in-law has come, I didn't want to disturb you, but I've just inherited the position of sect master, and there are many things in the sect that haven't been resolved yet. The sect elders insisted that I consult you. In front of Yi Qing Luo, Yi Fengyu behaved like a normal child. His eyes were filled with dependence towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo yawned lazily and casually swept a glance at the sweating sect elders, since the sect elders have come out of seclusion and little Yu is still young and inexperienced. The sect elders are the only elders of the sect, and a living signboard of Three Springs sect. Little Yu has just inherited the position. The sect elders should be helping him by the side, isn't it? Chapter 2139. Seventh Miss is right. I am the only elder of Three Springs sect. I have the obligation to help the patriarch grow. The sect elder replied, while wiping his sweat with trepidation. Yi Qing Luo nodded in satisfaction and glanced at Yi Fengyu. Second young master, since you are standing here now, then I will take it as you have chosen the future you want. The man who was mentioned suddenly tensed up. He raised his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Fengyu, who had experienced many changes, was no longer the same as before. That handsome face that had always been gentle and refined had been replaced by a cold and expressionless face. His eyes were as calm as still water, as if there was no ripple in his heart. Only when he looked at Yi Qing Luo, there was a trace of fluctuation in his eyes. Yi Qing Luo lazily shifted her body and found a comfortable position in Dmo Xian's embrace. Immediately, she picked up the teacup by the side. Yi Fengyu, since you've already made your choice, I'll give you this chance. Steam curled up from the teacup. It made her beautiful face look hazy and mysterious. She took a sip of the tea. The fragrance was rich. She closed her eyes in satisfaction and continued. Remember, you no longer have a next Biming clan. I will use my life to save you. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly froze. The cold light eroded everything around. Yi Qing Luo closed her eyes and could clearly feel the chill coming from Yi Fengyu. She raised her eyebrows and opened her eyes. Dmo Xian had taken away the teacup from her fingertips and put it back on the coffee table. His slender fingers grasped her hand. The warm interaction was not affected by Yi Fengyu at all. Second brother. Yi Fengyu felt the atmosphere was oppressive and quickly turned to look at Yi Fengyu, calling out with a smile. At the same time, when Yi Fengyu called out, second brother, Yi Fengyu's cold eyes blinked. In that instant, the cold light emanating from his body disappeared without a trace. All the arrogance was restrained. Yi Fengyu clenched his hands and took a step back, standing behind Yi Fengyu. Yi Fengyu heaved a sigh of relief, raised a smile, and looked at Yi Qing Luo, elder sister, second brother he. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and stopped his pleading. Yi Fengyu was close to Yi Qing Luo and also revered her. Immediately, he lowered his head and did not dare to speak again. Yi Fengru. Yi Qing Luo's sweet voice was devoid of any emotion. Yi Fengru clasped his hands together respectfully. I didn't mention the Baiming clan because I wanted to poke at your scars. Yi Qing Luo sat up slightly and looked at him seriously. I only want to tell you one thing. Bei Mingshi used her own life to exchange for a chance for you to live on properly. If you really care about Bei Mingshi, then for her, along with her share, live on together. Yi Qing Luo's expression turned serious as she looked at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Fengru's pupils constricted, and the veins on his clenched fists bulged. Yi Qing Luo replied calmly, "If your current submission is because you secretly have some thoughts that you shouldn't have, then don't blame me for disregarding the Baiming clan's relationship and sending you down to meet the Baiming clan." After a pause, she lowered her voice and sounded a little ethereal. "Don't waste the chance that the Baiming clan fought for you." Yi Fengru's body tensed up. The fists hanging by his sides were almost embedded deep into his bones. Yi Qing Luo didn't speak again. Yi Fengru didn't give any response. The atmosphere in the entire hall seemed to have sunk into a low pressure. The few of them felt that even breathing had become difficult. Chapter 2140. After some time, Yi Fengru, who had been tensed up, as though he was suppressing something, slowly moved. His body, in that instance, relaxed. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed past an undetectable smile. The next moment, Yi Fengru knelt down towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. "I will abide by my mother's dying wish to live for 7th Mississippi." His voice wasn't loud, but it was sonorous and filled with determination. A pair of eyes which had no desires was still like water, making one unable to distinguish clearly. What he said, was it true or false? Yi Fengru looked at Yi Qing Luo without blinking, as he spat out every single word clearly. "My mother said, my future is to live for 7th Mississippi. But by 7th Miss side, there's the world group, devil class, and also from various continents, famous and promising experts." And he paused, as his gaze swept past DMO Xian and back to Yi Qing Luo. "There's also the Overlord to protect you. You actually don't need my presence by your side. I know you value Sect Master very much, and also treat Sect Master as your own brother, and dote on him. So, I choose to stay in Three Springs Sect to assist Sect Master." Second brother. Yi Fengyu abruptly stood up as he bent over to support Yi Fengru. Yi Fengru shook his head as he looked at Yi Qing Luo stubbornly. "7th Miss can choose not to believe me, but I think me staying in Three Springs Sect is the result you want." "No." Yi Qing Luo lightly curled her lips as her sleeves moved. An invisible airflow struck towards Yi Fengru's legs. Yi Fengru's body was lifted up as he slowly stood up. Yi Fengyu immediately supported him. "I believe you." Yi Qing Luo looked at Yi Fengru calmly. "I can feel the relationship between you and your mother very clearly, and I believe that you will help me protect Xiaoyu for your mother." Yi Fengru's eyes lit up, as though he couldn't believe that Yi Qing Luo actually believed him. In his pupils, there seemed to be a dazzling luster faintly floating. His heart also calmed down. He bowed his waist towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, and following that, he retreated back to his original position. Yi Fengyu looked at Yi Fengru's respectful demeanor, neither servile nor overbearing. His thin lips moved as if he wanted to say something. But Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth and called out to him, "Little you, with Yi Fengru's help and the guidance of the sect's elders, the reorganization of Three Springs Sect will not be a problem." "Yes." Yi Fengyu nodded and looked at Yi Qing Luo. "But sister, if I inherit Three Springs Sect, the Heavenly Academy, I will discuss this matter with the Academy. Master Guiyu is your master. If he is willing, he can come to Three Springs Sect to personally guide you when the Academy has no classes." Yi Qing Luo had considered this point before. A sect could not be without a leader for even a day. If Yi Fengyu went to the Black Academy for lessons, he could only come back for 3 days a month. Yi Fengyu's ability had improved rapidly in recent times, but his aptitude hasn't been completely activated yet, so he can't compare with the two brothers of the Mu family. Naturally, they couldn't be like the Mu brothers, who could go to the academy whenever they wanted and busy themselves at home whenever they wanted to be busy. The only way was, let Master Guiyu come and teach. Master Guiyu was only teaching the devil class. Long Yunzhan and the rest were watching over the devil class. If Master Guiyu was willing, he could spare 1 to 4 hours a day, and that would be enough. Chapter 2141. The matters in the West Continent have stabilized. The Heavenly Academy should be gathering the students to return soon. Yiqing Luo calculated the time. I will have a good talk with Master Guiyu. Yes. Yi Fengyu nodded excitedly. He was already very proud and happy to be the disciple of Master Guiyu. If Master Guiyu could give him special treatment, he would be so excited that he could fly to the sky. Yiqing Luo's body softened as she leaned back into Mo Xian's arms. She glanced at the sect elder. With Yi Fengyu and the elder around, there is no need to specially come to me for the Three Springs sex matters. You can decide for yourselves. After all, it was a fact that she was not a member of the Yi family. If there were people from the Three Springs sect, she would handle it herself. She would try not to interfere if she could. People would always change. Even she would change according to the environment. The current Xiao Yu was full of trust and dependence on her. But most of the time, she would not be by his side. No one knew what the future would bring. If she interfered too much in Three Springs sex matters. In the future, there would be people who would constantly brainwash Xiao Yu. Perhaps one person would wash, 2 people would wash, 3 people would wash Xiao Yu would not believe it. But when 100 people, 1,000 people, or even 10,000 people stood in front of him, telling him that everything Yiqing Luo did was to get Three Springs sect, to use him to control Three Springs sect, and so on and so forth. At that time, could Xiao Yu's heart still hold on? The future was unpredictable. The only thing she could do was to prevent all these from happening. She would try her best to ignore the Three Springs sex matters. In the past few years, Yi Fengyu had been the butler of the Yi family's backyard and was able to cultivate a group of his own forces without anyone noticing. It was enough to prove that Yi Fengyu was courageous and intelligent. With Yi Fengyu as his advisor, Yi Fengyu definitely wouldn't take too many detours. In addition, there was the sect elder, an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years, a sky mystic overlord. If they wanted to attack the Three Springs sect while the successor to the throne was a young man, then they would have to be prepared to be annihilated. Today, Mo Xian showed his face. Even if the sect elders felt indignant. Even so, he had to swallow it. Is there anything else? Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. Yi Fengyu scratched the back of his head as he glanced at Mo Xian and was about to open his mouth. Behind her, Ziling, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, "Miss, you're leaving the Three Springs sect again, right?" Hearing the little lass's aggrieved voice, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. She looked at Ziling and said with a smile, "Linger, you have recovered well and your talent is not bad. If you cultivate well, you will definitely have your own world in the Nirvana realm in the future. But Ling only wants to stay by Miss' side. Ling Er's life was saved by young Miss. Ling Er's legs were healed by young Miss. And everything Ling Er has today was bestowed by young Miss. Ling Er wants to accompany young Miss, protect young Miss, protect young Miss." Ziling's eyes were misty with tears, and her voice carried a hint of sobbing. Ever since Yiqing Luo could cultivate, the time she spent with Yiqing Luo was getting lesser and lesser. Especially after Yiqing Luo went to the Heavenly Academy. Yiqing Luo seemed to have forgotten about her. Now, young Miss had gone further and further away. Chapter 2142. Yiqing Luo looked at the weeping Ziling. Yiqing Luo smiled helplessly. "Ling, did you understand what Yi Fengyu said just now?" Ziling blinked her tearful eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo blankly. "What second young master said just now?" He said there were too many powerful people around Mississippi. She didn't need someone like him around her. Even second young master wasn't qualified to stay by her side. Then wouldn't she be even less qualified to follow Miss? Yi Qing Luo looked at Zi Ling's expression and became more and more depressed. Yi Qing Luo knew that this girl was thinking the wrong way. She patted the hand that was playing with her hair around her waist. DMO Xian let go of her obediently. She got up and walked to Zi Ling. He raised his hand and gently caressed Zi Ling's head. Silly Ling Air, what I mean is, you should choose to stay in the Three Springs sect like Yi Fengru and protect little you for me. Ling understands. I understand. Zi Ling's cheeks subconsciously blushed as she watched her miss approach. Her eyes widened and almost greedily looked at Miss's beautiful face. She didn't know how long it had been since she saw Miss up close. As she got closer, the young Miss's charm, which made people submit to her, came pressing down on them in an overwhelming manner. Don't worry about me. If you want to repay me, then take good care of little you for me. Yi Qing Luo lowered her head and deliberately got closer to Zi Ling unexpectedly. Her flirting skills were quite good. She hadn't even flirted much. The little girl's face turned red. Just when Yi Qing Luo was ready to continue to flirt with this girl, suddenly, a clear and cold voice called out quietly from behind him. Little Luo. Yi Qing Luo felt a chill down her spine. She stood up straight. The hand that was around Zi Ling's shoulder slowly moved down. Then, step by step, she stepped back. Bang! Her back was knocked into a hard embrace. Yi Qing Luo hugged his arm and lowered her voice. Don't tell me you're jealous of a little girl? DMO Xian lowered his head and leaned over her shoulder. What do you think? All right, you're the prettiest. Who asked me to love beauties the most? Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath, turned around, and threw herself into DMO Xian's arms. All right, if there's nothing else. Carry me back to the room to catch up on my sleep. I'm so sleepy. DMO Xian helplessly looked at the coquettish young lady in his arms, his eyes filled with indulgence. He wrapped his arms around the girl's waist and carefully lifted her up. Yi Qing Luo's arms wrapped around his neck as she nestled in his arms and closed her eyes. DMO Xian turned and walked towards the door. Wait. Brother-in-law, wait. Yi Fengyu hurriedly got up from his seat and rushed to DMO Xian's side. DMO Xian's footsteps halted as he turned around and looked at him. Yi Fengyu raised his head and coincidentally met with DMO Xian's peach blossom eyes. Startled, he took a few steps back. Black eyes, black hair, a face of peerless elegance. Just by standing there quietly, he exuded a majestic aura. That domineering aura, that demonic charm, was like a poppy, extremely dangerous, but made people involuntarily sink into it. Even though he knew that DMO Xian's brother-in-law was his brother-in-law. On account of his sister's face, he would never make a move against him. But in the face of such a powerful DMO Xian, Yi Fengyu, this child, would still feel fear. Chapter 21:43. However, no matter how gentle DMO Xian was, those who couldn't withstand his aura, nor could she feel his gentleness. Yi Fengyu fiercely swallowed a mouthful of saliva, took a deep breath, and said in a trembling voice, That, brother-in-law, I have a question to ask you. When he finished his words, he seemed to be afraid that DMO Xian would be angry and immediately pointed at Yi Qing Luo. Regarding sister's matter, Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and grabbed DMO Xian's face. Her little body shifted in his embrace, and she propped herself up. In his arms, face to face with him. Her hands pinched both sides of DMO Xian's cheeks as she tilted her head, revealing a brilliant smile. Ah Xian, don't scare little you. Give me a smile. DMO Xian was rather helpless. He was already trying his best to suppress his aura. However, Yi Fengyu's mental fortitude was too weak. What could he do? He was also in despair. That brat Yi Fengyu, who was sitting on a main seat and looking at him, was still fine. Why was he behaving like this when he was right in front of him? Could it be that his future brother-in-law was deliberately making things difficult for him? He looked at his sister, who was constantly rubbing Di-Zun's face with her hands. And Di-Zun had a doting look on his face. Yifeng felt like he'd been fed a mouthful of dog food. Look at how much Di-Zun's brother-in-law dotes on his sister. What was there to be afraid of? Di-Zun's brother-in-law was obviously a henpecked husband. Therefore, Yifeng closed his eyes, steeled his heart, and roared out the words that he had been suppressing in his heart for a long time. Brother-in-law Di-Zun, when do you plan to become my real brother-in-law? All was silent. The entire hall fell into a deathly silence. Yiqing Luo's hand, which was pinching Di-Mo Xian's face, froze. She looked at Yifeng in shock, not understanding why he would ask such a question. Di-Mo Xian was stunned for a moment and lowered his eyes to look at the young lady in his arms. His answer depended on her attitude, but when he saw the shock in the young girl's eyes, it was as if she had never thought of this problem before. Di-Mo Xian's heart was indescribably upset. He tightened his arms and increased the strength of his arms. On the surface, he still maintained a gentle smile. Little you, why do you ask? Yiqing Luo nodded her head repeatedly as she stared at him with wide eyes. Right. Why would he ask that? Was little you urging them to get married? Yifeng watched the two of them respond to this question. The atmosphere was obviously strange. His little heart couldn't stop beating wildly. Did I ask the wrong question? Not waiting for Yifeng to reply, Di-Mo Xian raised his brows. Di-Mo Xian replied with an N. Yifeng was so shocked that he jumped back a few steps. I just wanted to ask you and my sister that your relationship is so close. My sister is a woman after all. After all, if she doesn't get married, her reputation. He stuttered and spoke incoherently. But Di-Mo Xian understood the meaning behind his words. Yiqing Luo's heart warmed. This brat was worried about her and concerned about her reputation. Although this place was a foreign world that had never appeared in history, it was still a foreign world. But it was still ancient times after all. Reputation was extremely important to a woman. Yiqing Luo and Di-Mo Xian's relationship had been spread around the entire Nirvana realm. If the both of them didn't get married and this was spread out, Yiqing Luo would definitely be pointed at by others. Chapter 2144. Following Yifeng's words, Yiqing Luo's heart involuntarily pounded along with the rhythm of Yifeng's words. Instinctively, she raised her head and fixed her gaze on the man who was hugging her. From this angle, Yiqing Luo could clearly see Di-Mo Xian's expression. His rosy red lips were slightly raised, and his long and narrow peach blossom eyes were slightly raised. Clearly, he was in a good mood. Yiqing Luo's little hand tightened on Di-Mo Xian's collar. He could feel the thundering heartbeat of the girl in his arms, and the hand that was grabbing his chest unconsciously curled up. Di-Mo Xian's lips curled up even more. Was his little Luo nervous? Previously, because Lil Luo had never thought of marrying him, the unhappiness he felt suddenly disappeared in that instant. His heart suddenly soared. He tightened his arms around the girl in his embrace. Her peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at Yifeng. His deep brows were slightly raised. Di-Zun brother-in-law. Yifeng was frightened by his gaze and stammered in a low voice. His heart was beating faster and faster, as if it was about to jump out of his throat. Clearly, Di-Zun's brother-in-law looked very gentle. She also didn't show any displeasure because of his forced marriage. But why did he feel weak at the knees when he looked into his brother-in-law's eyes? He wanted to escape from the range of his gaze. Little you wants this lord to marry little Luo, Di-Mo Xian's thin lips curled upwards, his voice gentle. However, the atmosphere in the hall was so stiff that it was difficult to breathe. Yifeng's body stiffened and trembled slightly. Obviously, under Di-Mo Xian's aura field, she couldn't even stand firm. But he still stubbornly stood his ground, trying his best to raise his head to look at Di-Mo Xian. Ziling carefully hid behind Yifeng and hugged his arm. She whispered, "Young master, Miss and the Overlord must have their own thoughts on this matter." Yifeng shook his head at Ziling, his eyes filled with determination. "This concerns my sister's reputation and future. No matter what, I must get to the bottom of this. Looking at the determined look on his young master's face, Ziling had no choice but to shut her mouth. The sect elders at the side were so scared that their calves were trembling uncontrollably. He clasped his hands together and racked his brain, trying to think of a way to stop Yifeng Yu's forced marriage. Was this the new sect leader or the new ancestor? The Overlord did not answer for a long time. Obviously, he had never thought of marrying Miss Qi. It was highly possible that the Overlord was just messing around with Miss Qi. If the new sect master's forced marriage behavior angered Dizun, what about the Three Springs sect? How could the new sect master be so blind? The few of them were perturbed. His heart was about to jump out of his chest. Dmo Xian folded his arms and lowered his eyes to look at the young lady who was staring at him in a daze. The infatuation in the young girl's eyes pleased Dmo Xian. The corner of his mouth unconsciously curled up. In that instant, his entire aura was softened. After a long while, Dmo Xian raised his eyes. His face was magnificent, and his eyebrows were thick and deep. His peach blossom eyes flickered with a brilliant light. Yifeng Yu's heart tightened. His hands that were clenched tightly by his sides were clenched tightly. Little Yu, you should ask your sister about this. Dmo Xian lowered his eyes and gazed deeply at the person in his arms. Anyone with eyes would be able to see the emotions in his eyes. Yifeng Yu was confused. Chapter 2145. Yifeng Yu's eyes widened. Ziling's eyes sparkled with tears of joy and excitement. The sect elder beside him was astonished. Then he took a deep breath. Sister. Yifeng Yu came back to his senses and immediately stared at Yiqing Luo. You heard what Overlord brother-in-law said. As long as you are willing, brother-in-law will marry you immediately. What are you waiting for? Why did she feel that she was also being forced to marry? Sister, what are you waiting for? Hurry and tell brother-in-law that you are willing to marry him. Yifeng Yu saw that Yiqing Luo was still silent and hurriedly grabbed her wrist. Cough, cough, cough. Yiqing Luo was stunned by Yifeng Yu's anxious expression. She hurriedly raised her hand and patted the back of his hand. Xiao Yu, marriage is not something that can be achieved just because you say so. Sister, aren't you anxious? Yifeng Yu held Yiqing Luo's hand tightly. You and brother-in-law are. He blushed and looked away shyly. If sister has brother-in-law's child in your stomach, what should we do? Isn't it better to get married earlier and have a legitimate reason for it? You stupid child. Who taught you to say all these? How would Yiqing Luo not understand what he was referring to when he didn't say it out? Her eyes widened and raised her hand to knock on Yifeng Yu's head. You're still a child. You already make me worry enough. I don't intend to give birth to another child to make me worry. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. That indifferent tone made Dmo Xian's eyes suddenly turn cold. The flame around him gradually subsided. Yiqing Luo continued, Don't let your imagination run wild. Your brother-in-law and I will get married sooner or later. As for the child, it will not happen for the time being. As for you, don't worry about this kind of thing. Just take care of Three Springs sect and be my most solid support. That's enough. The low pressure created by a certain man disappeared at this moment. A certain man's face revealed a proud and joyful smile. Look, his little Luo said it herself that they would get married sooner or later. Sooner or later. That meant that Lil Luo agreed to marry him. Look, his Lil Luo heir said, your brother-in-law, so naturally. It was obvious that she had long regarded him as her husband and husband. That was why she acted so naturally. A certain man was so happy that his tail was almost up to the sky. The sect elder beside him saw the change in Dmo Xian's expression. Bit by bit, the shock eroded his heart. The Overlord's love for Seventh Miss. The Overlord's mood was completely influenced by Miss Seven. The elders of the sect clenched their fists. He must properly assist the new sect master and not have any crooked thoughts. No matter what, they could never offend the Overlord. All right, little you, be a good boy and follow your second brother and the elders to learn how to manage the Three Springs sect. Your brother-in-law and I will return to our courtyard to rest. Yiqing Luo raised her wrist and hooked her finger at Yifengyu. Yifengyu pouted unhappily and took a step back. Sister, I'm already the sect master. You can't always be like this. Yiqing Luo nestled lazily in Dmo Xian's arms. Her little finger hooked again as she said in a sweet voice, You're the sect master. That means you're my brother. All right, this reason was very good and powerful. He had no words to refute. Chapter 2146. Yiqing Luo's palm touched Yifengyu's head. She smiled complacently, like a cat who had stolen a fish, and rubbed his head fiercely. Yiqing Luo only stopped in satisfaction when she saw her brother's meticulously combed hair was messed up. Xian, let's go. Yiqing Luo retracted her hand, circled Dmo Xian's neck, and leaned her head on his shoulder. His scent filled her nostrils. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes in satisfaction. Yifengyu's soft grumbling was still in her ears. Looking at the scene of the siblings getting along, Dmo Xian shook his head helplessly. Little you, study hard. As long as you can improve to the extent that your sister is satisfied, brother-in-law will give you a rare weapon. Yifengyu's eyes lit up. Brother-in-law, really? Really? Will brother-in-law lie to you? Dmo Xian responded in a rare good temper. Yifengyu was ecstatic and couldn't help but clap and shout. After Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo out of the hall. Yiqing Luo could still hear the burst of surprised cheers in the hall. This child is really just a child. Yiqing Luo looked at him teasingly. I think you can save this rare weapon. You have no confidence in him? Dmo Xian's steps were steady to avoid shaking the person in his arms. He wants to protect you and become your backing. Then he will definitely be able to do it. Yiqing Luo used the strength of his neck to straighten her back. Her face and Dmo Xian's face were facing each other. A pair of cunning fox-like charming eyes flashed with a strange teasing light. I say, Xian, you are the dignified overlord, noble and elegant, respected by the world like a legendary existence. You actually spent so much effort to encourage a human with a little bit of talent in the lower realm. Yiqing Luo giggled. Don't tell me. Is it because little you called brother-in-law? The smile on Dmo Xian's face froze. His deep, inky eyes shifted away unnaturally. Yiqing Luo's smile widened. Both hands held Dmo Xian's face, not letting him look away. Her bright eyes sparkled like colored glass. She smiled warmly. I was right, wasn't I? The man's face was forced to be unable to move away. He frowned and pursed his lips. Stop fooling around. Aren't you tired? Go back to the room and rest. Yiqing Luo's smile was bright and beautiful as she swept a glance at the surrounding maids and servants. She threw herself into Dmo Xian's arms. Oh, you're embarrassed? How could Dmo Xian not see through the young lady's playful thoughts? His large palm firmly supported the girl's waist, preventing her from falling out of his arms. Before he could answer, the girl suddenly hugged his head with her hands. So what if you're seen? Everyone in the Nirvana realm knows that you're my man. The girl's elegant voice was filled with pride. She snorted and bumped her head against his forehead. Xian, I know that you like me so much. You always want to marry me. Dmo Xian left her forehead and held Yiqing Luo tightly. He then freed one hand to rub her forehead. I want to marry you, are you surprised? The man's slender fingers gently caressed her head, the place where her head bumped against his forehead. Yiqing Luo smiled. Not surprised. I've long seen through your soul and saw your deep love for me. Chapter 2147. Their shadows were projected on the ground. The tall figure leaned over, covering the petite figure of the young lady. Their shadows overlapped, as if they were glued together. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered. After exchanging glances with Dmo Xian for a few breaths, she was the first to admit defeat and averted her gaze. Her little hand touched her face and found that it was boiling hot. She pursed her pink lips tightly and snorted softly. I'm telling you, don't think of cheating marriage now. Cheating marriage? Dmo Xian raised his brows. leaned close to her ear and breathed out teasingly. I really wish I could cheat you to stay by my side and not let you leave for even a moment. Hey, you, what are you doing? After being tormented by DMO Xian last night, Yiqing Luo's body was extremely sensitive. Under the warm breath, her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Her slender and fair fingers unconsciously clenched the collar of his shirt. This man, exuding the male pheromones again, tempting her to commit a crime. I'm talking to you about serious matters. Don't be so frivolous. Yiqing Luo lowered her head to avoid his teasing. I'm already in pain last night. Don't even think of touching me today. Hearing that she was in pain, DMO Xian immediately moved his thin lips away and looked at her nervously. Is it painful? Let me take a look back in the room. If it's painful, you must apply medicine. Take a look back in the room? Apply medicine? Who did he learn this skill of acting like a hoodlum from? Didn't he feel ashamed to say such words? Yiqing Luo pinched DMO Xian's waist fiercely. If you continue to talk nonsense, I'll ignore you. The young lady in his arms blushed. Her eyes were full of resentment. Charming and charming. DMO Xian looked at the spot where he had been squeezed 3 inches down and a flame sprang up again. He held back his thin lips and pulled a smile, bent his head close to her ear and laughed softly. Didn't you say it's painful? Why did it become me talking nonsense again? You. Yiqing Luo was furious, facing a shameless man. How could she talk back? DMO Xian carried her and strode towards Yiqing Luo's courtyard. All right, since you're not feeling well, go back to your room and rest for a few days. The academy did not urge you. Rest at home for a few days. I won't touch you. Yiqing Luo snorted coldly. She leaned her head against his chest. DMO Xian's brows were tinged with smiles as his footsteps became gentler. Lil Luo, what Xiaoyu said earlier actually makes sense. Our relationship now is no different from that of a marriage. It's better to get married as soon as possible. You're still talking. Yiqing Luo's little head arched against his chest. DMO Xian continued to persuade. If you have a child and we're not married yet, wouldn't it affect the child's reputation? What child? Xiaoyu is spouting nonsense over there, and you are spouting nonsense too. Yiqing Luo raised her head and stared at him. We're so close. It's only a matter of time before we have kids, isn't it? DMO Xian halted his footsteps as he lifted her chin. His peach blossom eyes narrowed as he said unhappily, Don't tell me that you've never thought about our child. Yiqing Luo turned red. She wanted to struggle, but her strength was not as good as DMO Xian's. She could only blush as she muttered, Getting married is just a formality. Between us, there's no need for the so-called formality. Didn't we agree earlier? I will wait until I'm able to keep pace with you. Then I'll marry you. After saying this, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but feel puzzled. In modern times, weren't all men unwilling to get married, thinking that it was just a formality? And to a woman, the wedding was the most important thing in her life? Chapter 2148. DMO Xian sighed helplessly. I shouldn't have agreed to you that time. Are you questioning my ability? Yiqing Luo stared at him unhappily. Her little fist clenched tightly and smashed towards his face. DMO Xian pretended to be in pain. Yes, my little Luo is so powerful. Very soon she will be able to keep pace with me. Yiqing Luo snorted. With a proud look of a queen, she retracted her hand. That's more like it. DMO Xian's eyes were dark, incomparably deep as he nodded with a warm smile. At this moment, all the maids and servants who were passing by saw it. Just a moment later, the Overlord doted on their 7th miss to the bone, simply a henpecked husband. This news spread throughout the entire Three Springs sect. He carried her as they stepped into the courtyard. The silence between the two of them was a little strange. The courtyard door closed. His footsteps didn't stop. Entering the bedroom, DMO Xian placed Yiqing Luo on the bed, pulled the blanket over, and covered her up. Immediately, he straightened up. Yiqing Luo looked at the peerless face in front of her. His lips curled up into a warm smile. Between his brows was his pampering towards her. But the atmosphere between the two of them was inexplicably strange. The more Yi Qing Luo thought, the more upset she felt. Just as Dmo Xian was about to turn around to leave, she suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed his wrist. Xian. Dmo Xian's footsteps paused, his other hand stretched over and wrapped around her little hand. What's the matter? Xian. The calmer he appeared, the more Yi Qing Luo was concerned. She hugged Dmo Xian's arm and pulled him to the bed. Sit down. Dmo Xian's gaze fell onto her face, gentle and sorrowful. Little Luo, aren't you still crying out in pain? If you continue to invite me like this, won't it hurt even more? Yi Qing Luo's cheeks blushed as she pinched his hand hard. Stop fooling around. Sit down. Dmo Xian sat down obediently. Xian, I know you're angry. Yi Qing Luo's little hand was still holding his big hand tightly. Actually, what Xiaoyu said, I have considered it for a long time. She took a deep breath, raised her head and met his gaze. It's not only you who wants to get married. I also want to be open and above board, to let the entire Nirvana realm and even the upper realm know that you, Dmo Xian, belong to me, Yi Qing Luo. But the look in her eyes was complicated. You should know from Beiyuan that not only is my father not Yi Tian Kuang, my mother is also not my mother. Dmo Xian didn't hide it and nodded to admit it. Tang Beiyuan was the secret guard that Dmo Xian had arranged to protect her in the dark on behalf of Wind. Tang Beiyuan must have seen everything that had happened to her in the dark. Moreover, Dmo Xian had rushed over in such a timely manner. It was probably because of Zhu Wuxin's appearance. Dmo Xian was very clear about Chu Wuxin's feelings for her. Tang Beiyuan knew that as well. Because of this, when Chu Wuxian brought the wind chimes as a gift to Yi Qing Luo, as Dmo Xian's subordinate, Tang Beiyuan felt a sense of crisis for her own master. Hence, she decisively used their imperial palace's exclusive method to inform Dmo Xian about this matter. Because of this, when Dmo Xian rushed over, she could feel the scorching heat from Dmo Xian's body and the perspiration on his forehead, as well as that unstable breathing. Because of this, Yi Qing Luo was certain. Tang Beiyuan must have told Dmo Xian in detail about these few days' matters in the morning when she was still sleeping. Chapter 2149. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and stared at the big hand that was held by her small hand. The fingers with distinct joints were extremely slender and beautiful. She couldn't bear to let go and kept holding it. I'm only 15 now. In the place where I grew up, this age is really too young. At least you have to wait for me for another 5 or 6 years. The current her was still considered a child. According to the education from where I came from, giving birth before the age of 23 or 4 is not only harmful to your own body, it will also harm your own baby. In another 5 or 6 years, her body would be considered as fully developed, pregnant with Dmo Xian's child. That was health and the safety of mother and child. All right. I'm not urging you to give birth. Dmo Xian looked at the girl's serious expression and couldn't help but laugh. Yi Qing Luo grabbed his hand tightly. I'm serious. You're not allowed to laugh. All right, I won't laugh. Dmo Xian looked like he was trying to hold back his laughter. Yi Qing Luo pouted and unhappily shook off his hand. Xian, do you know my background may not be that simple? Dmo Xian's expression froze. Yi Qing Luo noticed the change in his mood and smiled helplessly. Right? Even you've noticed it. Yes. Dmo Xian didn't deny it. Your innate talent, your profound heart jade, and the dark forces, as well as Godless Island, trying every means possible to push you into the pit. I have some guesses. When Bei Ming died, he said he hid something from me, something related to my biological father. Yi Qing Luo leaned into his arms. I didn't open the box. Old Man Song said he sensed a very powerful force in the box. That powerful force will cause Nirvana realm to no longer be peaceful. Dmo Xian frowned. What is it? I don't know. I didn't open it. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Old Man Song said that the force exceeded Nirvana realm and even surpassed his power. As she said, She pursed her thin lips and raised her chin on his chest. Old Man Sung is the spirit of the Azure Dew Bracelet, an old monster who has lived for thousands of years. Even he is in awe of the power. That is absolutely not a power that I can contend against. So, you didn't open the box and didn't check for any clues regarding your father? DMO, Xian's fingers gently brushed aside the stray hair on her forehead. Yiqing Luo replied with an N in a small voice, I think when my ability is strong enough, then I can go look for my father. Based on my current ability, even if I know who my father is, what can I do? There was something about her father, something so powerful. It was so strong that even Old Man Song had to admit defeat. This meant that his father was not someone from the Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm was the lowest realm in the entire alternate world. That also meant that she had found clues about her father and knew who her father was. She didn't have the ability to look for her father and find out about her origins. And about my mother. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelids. Old ancestor said that Yi Tian Kuang wanted the thing in my mother's hands. For that thing, he didn't hesitate to spend more than half of his life. That thing is very likely on me. Do you know what it is? DMO, Xin also found out about this matter from Tang Beiyuan. Chapter 2150. A clue to a powerful and unimaginable father. A person who possessed a mysterious item that made the head of the Three Springs sect, one of the four major sects, obsessed for most of his life, even marrying a woman he didn't love, to become the official wife of the Yi family. Whether it was a clue to his father or a clue to his mother, it showed that both of them were extraordinary, not simple. Xian, if my father and mother were ordinary people, I am willing to marry you now. But I can't. Yiqing Luo's little hand stretched over and held one of his fingers. The softness wrapped around his finger. DMO Xian's heart suddenly softened. Yiqing Luo raised her head, her long curly eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. She pursed her pink lips, her cheeks slightly flushed. Xian, our relationship, our feelings actually don't need anything to prove it. Just like what I said before, marriage is just a formality. I love you, just like you love me. We are a match made in heaven and are destined to be together. Otherwise, why would I come all the way from the 21st century to this strange world? I firmly believe that it is all for me is to meet you. The young lady's voice was extremely sweet and soft. Low and soft voice, as if she was shy. This look made DMO Xian's heart palpitate. He stared deeply at Yiqing Luo. His eyes were deep and his gaze was lingering. Yiqing Luo was defeated. Her little hand gripped his finger tighter and continued. Xian, you are very powerful, and your identity is distinguished. DMO Xian was stunned. His thin lips moved slightly and was about to say something. A slender and soft finger pressed against his lips, and with the fragrance of a woman's hair. Xian, let me finish. Yiqing Luo half knelt by the bed. Her finger pressed against his lips. Soft skin rubbed against his lips. Like a feather, gently stirred Yiqing Luo's heart. Her face turned redder, not daring to look at DMO Xian's sexy and charming face. No one knows where you come from, how powerful you are. She tried hard to say what was in her heart. You are very mysterious, mysterious island. I know you are hiding a lot of secrets. I also know that you didn't tell me because I'm not strong enough. Even if I knew everything, I wouldn't be able to help you at all. Instead, I might even be a burden to you. Therefore, in order to become a woman who is worthy of you, the Overlord, who is able to help you, the Overlord, I must choose to strengthen myself, improve myself, and work hard to catch up to you. DMO Xian's deep, inky, peach blossom eyes were like a pond of spring water, completely Yiqing Luo's peerlessly beautiful face. His arms tightened, hugging her tightly. Lil Luo air, I am willing to wait. Yiqing Luo's arms hugged him tightly as she buried her head on his shoulder. Xian, I won't let you wait for too long. As long as I find my biological parents, if it's possible, we'll get married under the witness of my biological parents. Her eyes were full of smiles. This will definitely be very satisfactory. All right, DMO Xian inhaled the fragrance from her body and understood what Yi Qing Luo was thinking. He had heard Yi Qing Luo mention about her modern life. He had no parents since he was a child. He followed the group of old men from the Yi clan and underwent inhumane, torturous training. Then she arrived here. The Yi clan had hurt her deeply. To say that she didn't care about kinship, in actual fact, it was all fake. If Yi Qing Luo could find her biological parents, it would mean that she had become extremely powerful. At that time, she would definitely have the ability to look down on the prosperous world with him. If she could add on the blessings of her biological parents. Using Yi Qing Luo's words. Just 2 words. Chapter 2151. Yi Qing Luo's face was buried in his chest. It also covered the faint melancholy between her brows. Her background was too complicated and strange. She appeared in the Yi family out of nowhere and became a descendant of a Yi family. Her mother even let her sit on the position of young matriarch until she was 15 years old. This was too abnormal. Why was it the Yi family? She still remembered that she was the young matriarch of the hidden Yi family in the 21st century. Only she could enter the Yi family's ancestral tomb. There was no doubt that she was the descendant of a Yi family. So she must have some connection with the Yi family of the Nirvana Realm's Three Springs sect. That was why she was placed in the Yi family. Behind this was her so-called biological parents' plot. Or someone else? Yi Qing Luo had no way of knowing these. The only thing she knew was her future path had to be taken step by step, steadily and slowly. Otherwise, a little carelessness might. Yi Qing Luo restrained the glint in her eyes as she suppressed all her thoughts. She had to figure out her own background, figure out the truth of that year. In this way, she could be at ease and be together with DMO Xian. This concerned the future of both of them. She could not allow any accidents to happen to the both of them. Yi Qing Luo raised her head. Her eyes sparkled as she gazed at DMO Xian's face, revealing a bright smile. Ah, Xian, I love you. The young lady's starry eyes were ravaged, but the warmth in her eyes was like the warm sun in early spring. Bit by bit, it seeped into DMO Xian's heart. The arm around her waist was tightly wrapped around her slender waist. The man's hot body pressed down. Yi Qing Luo's delicate body seemed to be ignited. The man's low and sexy voice was still beside her ear, teasing her little heart bit by bit. Her delicate body trembled slightly as her little hand grabbed DMO Xian's collar and pushed him away. Stop, stop. Ah, Xian, don't be so touched that you want to express your excitement by touching me. DMO Xian's kiss was about to fall, but was blocked by Yi Qing Luo's hand. He didn't move his lips away. The warm, thin lips were imprinted on her fair palm. His lips curled slightly. His thin lips rubbed against her palm, causing Yi Qing Luo's hand to tremble slightly. Instinctively, he wanted to retract his hand. DMO Xian's large palm suddenly grasped her little hand, preventing her from escaping. DMO Xian. Yi Qing Luo bit her lips shyly as she growled his name. This man, if he continued to flirt like this, something bad would really happen. She was not a woman who could be flirted with. It was getting to his head. She didn't care about anything else and directly pounced on him. DMO Xian's lips were still attached to her palm. When he heard her voice, he looked up. Yi Qing Luo was looking at him from this angle. She just met his eyes. Her body couldn't help but feel numb, and her legs couldn't help but go soft. That pair of bewitching peach blossom eyes were devilishly seductive. It was as if he was tempting her to sink into his demonic charm. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red in an instant. DMO Xian delightfully curled his thin lips as he teased. Is Lil Luo shy? Yi Qing Luo stared at him resentfully. He was so seductive. It would be strange if she wasn't shy. If she didn't feel shy, he should be panicking. Hearing the teasing tone in DMO Xian's words, Yi Qing Luo expressed that she couldn't continue to flirt with DMO Xian like this. That part was really in pain from DMO Xian's torment last night. She couldn't withstand the seduction from his beauty. If she wanted to battle with an injury and saw blood, that would be terrible. Young people must control themselves. Yiqing Luo brainwashed herself in various ways in her mind. Chapter 2152. An envelope appeared in Yiqing Luo's hands. Yiqing Luo pushed DMO Xian away as she shifted her two little legs backwards. DMO Xian only swept a glance at that envelope as he didn't put it to heart. Looking at the distance between the young lady and himself, there was more than half a bed's distance. His rosy red thin lips curled upwards as his gaze, filled with adoration, fell onto Yiqing Luo. Lil Luo, you're not feeling well, so I won't touch you now. DMO Xian bent over slightly as he tried to fish the young lady out from the bed. Yiqing Luo slapped his hand away. Don't come over. Sit there and don't move. DMO Xian helplessly retracted his hand as he coaxed warmly. All right, I won't go over and I'll listen to you. But, Lil Luo, isn't that area hurting? Let me take a look first. If it's really painful, then I'll apply medicine. He only thought that Yiqing Luo was in pain because of last night's torment. Hence, she wasn't willing to be intimate with him today. You still dare to say? Yiqing Luo had just opened the envelope when her cheeks flushed red from DMO Xian's words. Don't say any more. Don't you know what shame is? DMO Xian's smile became even more devilish. There's only the two of us here. What's there to be shy about? Moreover, which part of your body have I not seen before? DMO Xian. Yiqing Luo flew into a rage out of embarrassment as her wide-opened eyes started to burn with sparks. She clenched her teeth as she pounced towards DMO Xian's direction. Her two little fists were clenched tightly. Rushing up, she punched DMO Xian's exceptionally handsome face, which was filled with teasing smiles. Her hand had just waved, and a piece of yellowish paper floated down from the envelope. That piece of paper was extremely thin. It was obviously yellowish, but it gave off a strange energy. When DMO Xian's eyes looked towards the paper, the teasing smile on his face instantly froze on his face. This is... DMO Xian held onto Yiqing Luo's hands, which were waving over as he used a little strength to bring her into his embrace. Following that, the other hand picked up the thin piece of paper. This thing, where did you get it from? Lying in DMO Xian's embrace. Yiqing Luo could obviously feel that DMO Xian's aura had turned solemn. Obviously, he knew this kind of paper and had seen it before. Realizing this, Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up obviously. She happily climbed out his arms. Xian, do you know this kind of paper? Do you know which realm this thing came from? DMO Xian's fingers gently stroked the paper, and the more he touched, the more grave his expression became. This thing definitely doesn't exist in the lower realm. He didn't directly answer Yiqing Luo's question, but indirectly admitted that this piece of paper indeed came from another plane. Yiqing Luo didn't pursue further. She struggled free from DMO Xian's embrace and knelt on the bed, slowly spreading out the paper. It looked like a thin piece of paper. When it was spread out, it occupied half the bed. This paper, wasn't it the map which Yiqing Luo had found in the secret compartment in her mother's room? I think Yi Tian Kuang probably wants to obtain this map from my mother. Yiqing Luo's hands were propped up by the side of the map, as she stared at the densely packed, complicated routes on it. When the map was completely unfolded, DMO Xian's body stiffened. He stared at the dazzling map in a daze. It wasn't until he heard Yiqing Luo's voice that he regained his senses. Chapter 2153. Yiqing Luo nodded. Yes, this is what my mother left for me, but the route on it is too complicated. Even after such a long time, I can only remember half of the route in my mind. Pausing her words, she raised her eyes in puzzlement and stared at DMO Xian. You know what this map is and where it came from, right? DMO Xian's gaze retracted from the map little by little. His breathing was still faintly uneven. Obviously, his heart was not calm. Little Luo, keep it first, he said with a complicated expression. Yiqing Luo frowned. DMO Xian's expression. Why did it look so strange? Keep it first. DMO Xian rubbed her head. Oh. Yiqing Luo used her peripheral vision to look at the expression on DMO Xian's face as she refolded the map. She put the map back into the profound phoenix ring. She immediately climbed to DMO Xian's side and leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'll keep it." DMO Xian lowered his eyes. His long eyelashes cast an arc under his eyelids. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly dignified. Yiqing Luo didn't rush him, quietly nestled in his arms. She knew that this map must be hiding a huge secret, and it was absolutely the thing that Yi Tianquang wanted to get from her mother. A map that didn't belong to Nirvana Realm. The map that Yi Tianquang racked his brains to get. And let DMO Xian. Such a heavy map. DMO Xian needed a short period of time to sort out his feelings when he saw this map in the lower realm. The silent time passed by in a flash. After a stick of incense, DMO Xian's tense body finally moved. Yiqing Luo leaned in his arms and felt it most clearly. She immediately straightened her body, gently fanned her long eyelashes, and looked at him quietly. "Little Luo, this map is called Profound Flame W Chart." DMO Xian's voice was somewhat tense, and his tone was extremely flat. "Profound Flame W Chart? What kind of name was this?" But it sounded like it was very powerful. "You must keep this map well. You must not expose it to anyone. Otherwise, not only will the Nirvana realm be in trouble, I'm afraid the entire alternate world will fall into an endless battle." DMO Xian said as he shut his eyes wearily. The profound flame W diagram was with Yiqing Luo. Should he rejoice or worry? His tall figure leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers stroked the sore spot between his eyebrows. "Your mother should have told you about the importance of the arcane flame W diagram." He sighed lightly. DMO Xian's look made Yiqing Luo's heart feel perturbed and uneasy. She leaned towards DMO Xian's side, and her charming eyes looked at his face without blinking. "When I got this map, my mother had already passed away." DMO Xian's eyelids twitched. Old Man Song has never seen this map before, so he doesn't know where the route is drawn on the map. Yiqing Luo continued. DMO Xian abruptly opened his eyes. "Yes. That old man, call him out." "Ah Xian, what's the secret of this map? Tell me first. This map is likely to be related to my life experience." Yiqing Luo held DMO Xian's arm. She always felt that DMO Xian didn't want to talk to her about the profound flame W chart. Chapter 2154. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips and finally nodded in compromise. She placed her palm on the azure dew bracelet and activated her divine sense. "Last Luo, you and DMO Xian are like glue. Why did you call this old man out to join in the fun?" Old Man Song's spiritual body floated out of the azure dew bracelet. "You two youngsters are so sticky. Do you want this old man to see you two lovey-dovey? Are you sure you can continue to be so intimate with this old man?" Old Man Song had obviously just woken up as he lazily yawned. When his entire spiritual body floated out of the azure dew bracelet, only then did he realize the atmosphere between the two of them, who were originally stuck together, was a little strange. Old Man Song looked at DMO Xian, who was sitting on the bed with a grave expression. Then he looked at Yiqing Luo, who was sitting on the other side, staring at DMO Xian without blinking. He looked left and right. He suddenly clapped his hands. "You two, don't tell me you two are quarreling and looking for this old man to mediate?" After he finished, he floated one round around the two. These two people were so sticky when they met. They couldn't wait to become conjoined twins. Since yesterday, when DMO Xian appeared, Old Man Song decisively blocked the azure dew bracelet from the outside world. He didn't expect that in just one day, something happened. He shook his head and lectured. "You two don't. The map in little Luo Oi's hand is the profound flame W diagram." DMO Xian opened his mouth lightly, interrupting Old Man Song's lecture. Young couple fighting in bed. Old Man Song's floating spiritual body suddenly rushed in front of DMO Xian. "What did you say? Profound flame W diagram?" DMO Xian calmly nodded. Old Man Song's mouth opened wide. his face full of disbelief. After a long while, he recovered from the shock and turned to look at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo blinked and nodded uncertainly. That map. Xian said it is the profound flame W diagram, but this W diagram, what is it? Old man Song's pale lips trembled. His white beard fluttered along with his breathing. Then his eyes met with Mo Xian's. The room fell into silence again. Yiqing Luo looked at the man and the spiritual body as her pretty face instantly turned stiff. What kind of riddle are the two of you playing? Is there anything that you can't tell me? Arousing my curiosity, but not telling me, that's the same as arousing my curiosity, but not. Lil Luo. Mo Xian stretched out his long arm and pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. A broad and thick palm covered Yiqing Luo's lips, preventing her from saying those shocking words in front of Old Man Song. In any case, Old Man Song was also an elder. Mo Xian held her in his arms. He lowered his eyes. Against the light, his eyes were as deep as the sea, making it difficult to see through him. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips and pouted unhappily. Both of you know what the Tianshu map is, except for me. Lil Luo, it's not that we don't want to tell you, but it's the safest for you if you don't know. Do you understand? Mo Xian's palm slightly exerted force as he hugged her head into his embrace. His lower jaw was pressed against her head. His voice was low and hoarse. That thing could easily bring about a fatal disaster. I don't want anything to happen to you. Fatal disaster. These 4 words struck Yiqing Luo's heart. She remembered that when she saw her mother's letter, her mother had reminded her, never ever let others know about this map, otherwise it would bring about a fatal disaster. Looking at Yiqing Luo's dazed and silent look. Chapter 2155. Lil Luo, let me put it this way. Mo Xian looked at her sternly. With this map, compared to you with the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, you are more tempting. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed as she squinted. She naturally understood that the arousal in Mo Xian's words was not referring to the arousal between a man and a woman. Instead, he was tempted by his prey. Yes, prey. Previously, when he found out that the profound heart jade in her body was the only one in the world, the heaven-defying Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. She knew it. If the news that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade was in her body were to spread, she was everyone's prey. It wasn't just the Nirvana realm that would come to hunt her down. Even the people from other realms, even the people from the upper realm would hunt her. Now, she heard what Mo Xian said. This map, known as the Mystic Flames W diagram, was even more important than the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. From this, it could be seen how great the secret hidden on the map was. Just like what Mo Xian had said, she did not know the details of this map. Only then would it be safer. Lil Luo, Mo Xian lowered his head to look at the dazed young lady. The shock and astonishment on her face clearly showed that she really didn't know what the Arcane Flames W diagram was. Yiqing Luo looked at him blankly when she heard his voice. Mo Xian glanced at Old Man Song, who was floating at the side. He had not completely recovered from the news of the W diagram. His eyes were empty and lifeless as he stared ahead in a daze. Mo Xian retracted his gaze. His peach blossom eyes were deep and reserved. His gaze locked onto Yiqing Luo. The 2 large palms that were holding onto her arms slowly tightened their grip. Xian. Yiqing Luo's arm was hurting from the pinching as she called out to him softly. Ever since she took out the W diagram, Mo Xian became very strange. He didn't just know what the W diagram was. Furthermore, it was highly possible that there was some unspeakable secret between it and the W diagram. Little Luo, listen to me. Mo Xian suddenly pulled her into his embrace. His long body enveloped Yiqing Luo tightly. Yiqing Luo's face crashed into his solid chest. She was in so much pain that she wanted to raise her hand to rub her face. Before he could voice out his complaints, her waist was immediately held by the man's large palm. She buried herself even deeper into his embrace. The rich scent of sandalwood and the scent of male hormones filled the air. Ugh! Yiqing Luo found it hard to breathe. He wanted to struggle, but the man seemed to be able to predict her next move. He could always trap her hands before she wanted to struggle. Yiqing Luo simply gave up on struggling and turned her little face to another direction in his arms. What was wrong with this man? She was about to be suffocated by him. Yiqing Luo was still adjusting her breathing position. Suddenly, her body was abruptly pulled a distance away from the man. Dmo Xian lowered his head and stared into her dazed eyes. As though he had mustered up a huge amount of courage, he said word by word, "Haven't you always wanted to know why I am in Nirvana realm?" His voice was very low, and his breathing was a little heavy. Yiqing Luo's heart was lifted. In that instant, the confusion he had felt just now was answered. "You're here for the W diagram?" Yiqing Luo looked at Dmo Xian in a daze as she voiced out her guess. The arms around her waist tightened even more, as though she was afraid that he would escape because of this. His arms were like an iron wall, trapping her in his embrace. Chapter 2156 F***K. It was really any melodramatic. Yiqing Luo's heart was racing with 10,000 curses. She didn't speak. Dmo Xian panicked. The Overlord, who had always been noble and elegant, towering above thousands of people, was revered by everyone. Right now his face was flustered. His eyes revealed a trace of cautiousness and fawning. He seemed to be in a very low mood. He lowered his head and pillowed on her neck, not daring to look at her eyes. "After knowing my motive, you don't want to talk to me anymore? Hate me?" His voice was very soft. She could tell that he was extremely upset. Yiqing Luo's pupils gradually focused. Just as she was about to speak, the man helplessly opened his mouth again. His voice lowered a little, adding a trace of disappointment. "Lil Luo, don't keep quiet. I know, to you, this may indicate betrayal, but..." Wait. Yiqing Luo raised her hand, interrupting his words. Two little hands propped on Dmo Xian's chest, pushing him. "Dmo Xian, what are you talking about?" Hearing the young lady's response, Dmo Xian instinctively let go of her. Yiqing Luo got off the bed and took a few steps back. Then she raised her head to look at him. She discovered that the man's usual high-spirited, confident eyes, as though everything was in the palm of his hand, was exceptionally clear. He only looked at her attentively. His eyes revealed pain. Yiqing Luo's heart couldn't help but soften. Since when did her man lose so much confidence in her? To prevent the man's imagination from running wild again, Yiqing Luo could only walk to the bedside. Both her hands cupped Dmo Xian's face, met his gaze, and asked seriously, "Dmo Xian, I only have one question for you." Dmo Xian looked straight at her determined eyes. "Before this, did you know that the Tianshu map was on me?" Yiqing Luo spoke slowly, extremely clearly. That frustrated man, whose face was filled with nervousness and disappointment, shook his head blankly. "No." "Then that's it." Yiqing Luo pinched his cheek. "Your motive in Nirvana realm is to search for the Tianshu map, but before I took it out, you didn't know that the Tianshu map was on me. Then you wanting the Tianshu map, liking me and being together with me, has nothing to do with it. How could this possibly indicate betrayal?" The young girl's sweet voice was soft and gentle. The young girl's soft and tender fingers touched his cheek. Just a light touch was enough to move his heart. "Moreover, the person who wants the heavenly pivot map, if it's you, I can give it to you." Yiqing Luo's arms hugged his neck as she pressed her petite body onto his. Dmo Xian's heart soared. The young girl's words made his heart so happy that he was about to ascend to the heavens. His little Luo heir was indeed different from ordinary girls. She knew that his goal was the W map, but she still chose to trust him. She clearly knew the importance of the W map. Furthermore, the W map was related to her mother, yet she was willing to give it to him. He was already secretly rejoicing. Fortunately, he came to the Nirvana realm to find the W diagram. He was looking for the W diagram. Only then did he have the chance to meet his Lil Luo-er. In this life, to have Lil Luo-er. He was so lucky. "Did you forget what I just said?" Dmo Xian pinched her delicate nose. The W diagram is more important than the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade. Yet you still gave it away so easily. You personally came to the Nirvana realm to find the W diagram, which is enough to prove the importance of the W diagram to you. Yiqing Luo looked at him seriously. To me, nothing is more important than you. The W diagram was indeed important. It was something that her mother had left for her. Perhaps it was related to the clues of her mother. But if DMO Xian needed the W diagram. Chapter 2157. The young lady's serious words were filled with affection. That sweet and soft voice entered DMO Xian's ears one by one. It almost filled his heart with honey. You silly girl. DMO Xian tightened his arms and pulled her into his embrace. Keep the W map well. Don't take it out easily. Understand? Yiqing Luo raised her head and placed her chin on his chest. I'm serious, and the W map is safer with you than with me. My previous goal was indeed to find the W map. DMO Xian smiled. His slender fingers touched her pink lips, but now. My goal is to protect you who owns the W map. Yiqing Luo was puzzled. Knowing that the W map is with you, I don't need to specially look for it. DMO Xian bent down and kissed her lips. Since your mother left the W map to you, it means that this W map belongs to you, and only you can use it properly. Yiqing Luo pushed him. Old Man Song was still watching by the side. DMO Xian suddenly turned serious. Lil Luo, it's not that I don't want to tell you about the W map. If the time is right, I will tell you the secret of the W map and the reason why I need it. Yiqing Luo tilted her head with a smile on her face. It was a devastatingly beautiful sight. Her hands pinched his face again. I know. I will work hard to cultivate and grow. All right. Stop being so lovey-dovey, you too. Old Man Song, who was in the background, couldn't bear it anymore. I'm still watching. You two are kissing and hugging. Do you still treat me as an elder? Yiqing Luo hooked DMO Xian's neck and turned to look at Old Man Song, who was floating above the gauze curtain. Dang. I'm expressing to Old Man Song that we are very loving. Don't worry. Old Man Song's white ball and the gauze curtain had almost blended together. He rolled his eyes at Yiqing Luo. His spiritual body floated down and pushed Yiqing Luo out of DMO Xian's embrace. Look at your red face. Go stand at the door and enjoy the wind. You're a lady. Be more reserved. Yiqing Luo. Why was her face so red that she didn't look reserved anymore? But she did not refute. She took a deep breath and accepted the excuse Old Man Song gave her. She patted her clothes, held her sore waist, and waved her hand. Fine. I'll stand at the door to enjoy the breeze and suppress the fire in my heart. She blew a kiss at DMO Xian and walked out of the bedroom, closing the door behind her. She left decisively. Naturally, she understood. Old Man Song and DMO Xian had something to say. Moreover, it was about the W diagram. Old Man Song was her artifact spirit. Although he could appear in his spiritual form, he couldn't be too far away from her. All she could do was stand at the door and let the old man and the young man chat slowly. Yiqing Luo didn't eavesdrop. She really wanted to know the secret of the W diagram. But DMO Xian's words made a lot of sense. Knowing now would do her no good. From DMO Xian's and Old Man Song's expressions, she could tell the importance of the Tianshu map. For this thing, Yi Tianquang had sacrificed his position as the first wife and spent most of his life grinding, enduring, and begging. For this thing, the noble and elegant Overlord stayed in the Nirvana realm for so many years and even built the Imperial Palace. Indeed, it was more important than the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade. This kind of thing was beyond her ability to bear. Chapter 2158. Their conversation didn't take too long. Before the time it took to burn a stick of incense, the room's door opened with a squeak. Yiqing Luo heard that and looked behind her. What she saw was a purple flowing light flashing past her eyes. The next moment, her waist was tightened. The man's wide and thick palms held her slender waist in his palms. Xian, done talking? Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose as she leaned into his arms. DMO Xian held her into the room and closed the door. In. Remember to keep the Tianshu map, well, Old Man Song will remind you. I know. The two entered the room, and Old Man Song had already sneaked into the Azure Dew bracelet, leaving the two of them alone. Oh yes, there's also this calming pearl. Yi Ching Luo took out the calming pearl. I'll let Old Man Song take a look. There's no other presents left on the calming pearl. Take another look. Yi Ching Luo placed the calming pearl in Dmo Xian's hand. There was once when the dark forces made use of her profound jade heart. Yi Ching Luo indicated that she had to be careful at all times. After all, the calming pearl was something that suppressed her profound jade heart. She absolutely couldn't let any external factors cause her to be controlled by the dark forces to happen again. Dmo Xian held Yi Ching Luo's little hand as his palm covered her palm. Her palm felt scorching hot. Yi Ching Luo's cheeks blushed slightly as she wanted to withdraw her hand. A man's low voice came in her ear. Don't move. She didn't move again. A warm current came from the place where their palms were touching. It was Dmo Xian who released his profound qi. Yi Ching Luo quietly held her breath. The distance between the two was very close. The feeling of his breath on her body was extremely clear. She blinked her eyes as her gaze moved up and down Dmo Xian's body. She could see Dmo Xian's dense and long eyelashes that were even more attractive than her own. That peerless face indeed had the capital to make people go crazy for it. Yi Ching Luo's eyes stared at his face without blinking. How could Dmo Xian, with his strong perception, not feel it? Moreover, that gaze really made him have an uncontrollable impulse. Dmo Xian glanced sideways and just happened to meet with Yi Ching Luo's pair of infatuated eyes. Their eyes met. Her eyes were bright, and her gaze was scorching. Just by looking into each other's eyes, Zhang Xian felt as though he had been electrocuted, and a sensation coursed through his entire body. This man was truly a monster. Yi Ching Luo bit her lower lip as she avoided his line of sight. There's no problem with this tranquility pearl. Dmo Xian's tone was filled with a pampering smile. Yi Ching Luo's face turned even redder. She struggled her hand out from Dmo Xian's palm. The little body fell onto the bed. Lifting up her two little feet, she stepped on Dmo Xian's chest. No problem. Then I have no problem. Now this empress wants to rest. Little Xuanzi can rest. Dmo Xian just stood up. He was kicked by Yi Ching Luo's two little feet. He reached out with his large palm and grabbed her foot. Yi Ching Luo exerted a little strength and kicked him twice. Little Xuanzi, you dare to grab my leg. The moment she kicked him, her body froze and her little face turned slightly pale. She gave a hiss as she sucked in a breath of cold air, wanting to cry, but no tears came out as she held on her waist. Ioyo, my waist is so sore. Just moving her forelimbs slightly, her entire body felt a kind of sore and numb feeling. Especially the two sides of her legs, as though they were chopped off and then sewn back together. Soft, painful, and sore. Chapter 2159. All right, lie down and have a good rest. Dmo Xian held her little feet in his palm when he saw her crying out in pain. Squeezing her feet, Dmo Xian was about to let go and cover Yi Ching Luo with the blanket. His body had just bent down. His chest was hammered again. Dmo Xian didn't manage to react in time, as his chest felt stuffy and he coughed violently. Little Xian, who asked you to bully me? I'll kick you to death. Accompanying Dmo Xian's coughing sound, Yi Ching Luo's joyful laughter was heard. Yi Ching Luo's little feet kicked Dmo Xian's chest harshly. After that, she quickly wanted to retract her feet, but the man's reaction was faster. Before he could retract his foot, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Her feet were locked tightly by Dmo Xian's hand. There was a strange atmosphere in the air. Yi Ching Luo's body stiffened as her laughter stopped. She bent down and took a careful look at Dmo Xian. Her little feet moved and her voice became softer. Dmo Xian, let go of me. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled upwards as his narrow peach blossom eyes shone with an extremely bright and scorching light. That light was enough to ignite everything. He bent down slightly as his large palm was still wrapped around her two little feet. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as her heart pounded. The temperature on her body started to rise under his gaze. Little Luo, if you continue to tempt me, I can't guarantee that I can still control myself. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes were half squinted as his deep voice was hoarse, revealing an obvious emotion. That voice was like a soft feather, tickling her heart bit by bit. Tickling her heart. Dmo Xian gazed deeply at the young lady on the bed whose face was flushed red. That creamy complexion was flushed with a bashful crimson red. That pair of clear and charming eyes were like silk, emitting a charming glow. The more he looked, the more his heart contracted. His long body couldn't help but tensed up. He suppressed his impulse and restrained his desire as he grabbed her feet and placed it at the side of his lips as he planted a fierce kiss. Yiqing Luo's petite body shook as though she was electrocuted. Her face was burning hot, so hot that it could almost cook an egg. He, the Overlord, actually kissed her feet. Aren't you afraid of losing face if this spreads out? Yiqing Luo was embarrassed and annoyed, but she also knew that she and Dmo Xian were not on the same level, and totally not his opponent. She buried her face in the bed. Go and do your work. I'm going to sleep. Dmo Xian tightened his grip on her leg, and a low, husky laugh came from the depths of his throat. This smile simply made Yiqing Luo's amorous heart flutter. She blushed and kicked him. Dmo Xian touched the sole of her foot. Have a good rest. If you're still not feeling well tomorrow, then postpone reporting to the academy for a few days. Yiqing Luo ignored him. I'll be back soon. Miss me? Dmo Xian said again. Yiqing Luo twisted her little body, still ignoring him. His foot, which was being grabbed, gradually loosened. The atmosphere in the room was calm and quiet. Yiqing Luo laid on the ground for a long while and really didn't hear the man's voice. Biting her lip, she got up unhappily and looked behind her. His heart was filled with a sense of loss. Her petite body was suddenly hugged tightly. A gentle yet domineering kiss landed on her lips. The thick scent of a man's sandalwood filled her nostrils. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened, filled with astonishment. Chapter 2160. He didn't leave. Yiqing Luo's heart was instantly covered with sweetness. This man's skill in picking up girls was really full points. Different tricks could bring her different surprises and sweetness. This kiss lasted until both of them were out of breath. Only then did they let go. Yiqing Luo's face was flushed red as she fell into Dmo Xian's arms. Dmo Xian gently stroked her hair. His slender fingers were extremely gentle, revealing a strong sense of love. Little Luo, protect yourself. Don't force yourself. Dmo Xian whispered in her ear. In a few days, I will send Xian over. Let him and Bei Yuan be your secret guards. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and panted slightly. Xian? Is he Bei Yuan's fiancé? Yes. Dmo Xian kissed her forehead. Remember my words. No matter if it's the profound heart jade or the Tianshu map, it can only be a secret. If there's anything you can't solve, tell me through the profound phoenix ring. Yiqing Luo nodded obediently. Her little head rubbed against his arms. You have to be careful too, after the matter is settled. Let's go to the upper realm together. The hands around her waist suddenly tightened. Yiqing Luo clearly felt that the man's chest had hardened a little. She raised her head and wrapped her arms around his neck. Just now outside the door, I also thought that Nirvana realm can no longer satisfy my growth. I think I should go to the upper realm, grow along the way, and, at the same time, search for clues about my parents. Although Yiqing Luo wasn't clear about the clues about her father and the Tianshu map. But she knew these two things must have come from the upper realm. Her background could only be revealed when she went to the upper realm. More importantly, her aim was to grow, to go to a more powerful place, to recultivate, to learn and grow. There was no longer any existence in Nirvana realm that could trigger her advancement. Dmo Xian released her waist and slightly opened up the distance between them, lowered his head and touched her forehead. Okay, I'll accompany you. Yiqing Luo smiled. Something warm and soft brushed past her forehead. Her eyelashes trembled slightly. In that instant, the warmth that had surrounded her dissipated. Her fingers scratched unconsciously. She could only grab onto one hand the air that was still lingering with the man's sandalwood scent. He left. He only stayed for a day before leaving. Although he knew very well in his heart, DMO Xian had actually found out about Zhu Wuxian's appearance and specially rushed over to eliminate his love rival. It wasn't that the matter of the Imperial Palace had been resolved, but seeing him leave in such a hurry, she couldn't help but sigh. In her heart, she was still very reluctant. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and pressed on her own heart. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and fell onto the bed. She actually knew that the reason why DMO Xian was in a hurry to leave was not just because of the Imperial Palace, but because W diagram. The reason why DMO Xian was in the Nirvana realm was to search for the Heavens Pivot Map. Now, the W diagram was with her. Regarding the W map, it was time to give DMO Xian some time to sort it out. This W diagram, no matter if it was for her mother or for her to be able to prove her true identity in the future, or for DMO Xian, she had to keep it well. The W diagram descended. The world would definitely be in chaos. It seemed like it was for the secret she had. She had to grow up as soon as possible. Chapter 2161. In the dense forest of the high mountains, the trees were shaking and the leaves were rustling. Occasionally there were birds and beasts cutting through the dense forest, sprinkling a strange light. At the top of the mountain, a tall figure stood on the edge of the peak, facing the wind with his hands behind his back. The luxurious purple robe, like rolling purple flowing light, was fluttering with the biting cold wind. But no matter how strong the wind around, that figure was already standing there majestically. After a long while, a calm, weather-beaten voice, as if it had experienced the vicissitudes of life, leisurely rippled on the mountain. "Boy of the D family, what wind actually blew you here?" That tall figure still stood against the wind, as if he did not hear this sentence. Then, on the mountain, a hurricane suddenly rose. Ring after ring of Xian waves, like ripples, spread out in the air one after another. The sand and stones on the ground under this hurricane rolled into a tornado. Even the huge stones on the side were blown away. Then, that tall figure stood steadily on the edge of the mountain. If there were others at this time, they would definitely have a heart attack by this thrilling scene in front of them. "Oh, haven't seen for many years. The profound grade has improved again." That voice sounded again. Along with the sound, that rolling tornado, like a huge spider web, rushed to the edge of the mountain, turned into a raging wind. That figure had no time to react. He was completely swallowed by the tornado. Above the mountain, laughter resounded. But the laughter had not been vented to the fullest. Suddenly, the mountain shook violently, only to see the place where the tornado hit was broken by a powerful momentum. A purple figure flew out from the hurricane. With a wave of his sleeve, a ray of purple light flew out and turned into a sharp blade. In an instant, the entire mountain was flattened. Not far away, a small thatched house was instantly pierced by the sharp blade. But in a flash, the thatched house became thatch, and it was broken into pieces of thatch. "Boy of the D family, you've gone too far." Looking at his thatched house become like this, that voice was exasperated. Then, not knowing from which direction, a figure sprang out. That voice scurried out and struck a palm towards DMO Xian. "If you waste any more time, this lord will raze this mountain of yours to the ground." DMO Xian turned around and placed his hands behind his back, looking at the incoming palm strike with a calm expression. Just as the palm wind was about to hit DMO Xian, the momentum of the palm suddenly stopped. DMO Xian looked at the person in front of him indifferently. The person in front of him was dressed in an elegant moon-white robe, which made her delicate and soft body look exquisite and curvaceous. He was right. It was a woman. Furthermore, it was an extremely stunning woman. That kind of beauty was extremely flamboyant. Coupled with her temperament, there was no sense of disharmony in her beauty. He was aggressive and domineering. Dmo Xian's gaze was fixed on the woman's face for several breaths. This lord is here because I have something to ask you. You destroyed my house the moment you arrived, and you even wanted to raze my territory to the ground. Now you want to ask me a question? How shameless. The woman rolled her eyes at him without any hesitation. Dmo Xian's eyes were gloomy as he stared at the woman and said word by word, "This lord has found the W map." The expression on the woman's face gradually stiffened. After a long while, she asked, "Where is it?" Chapter 2162. Who is it? The woman's expression sank as a trace of ruthlessness flashed past her eyes. Dmo Xian took a step forward and strolled to the woman's side. His thin lips moved slightly as he lightly spat out a few words. Nirvana realm is not peaceful if you don't want the other world to be in chaos. I advise you to strengthen the security. Nirvana realm? The woman narrowed her beautiful eyes as a piercingly cold and domineering aura gradually dispersed. Is the W map really in Nirvana realm? That time, Dmo Xian went to Nirvana realm to look for the W map. She only treated it as a joke. Unexpectedly, Dmo Xian really found the whereabouts of the W map in Nirvana realm, that inferior realm. Dmo Xian glanced sideways as he looked at the woman from a high position. His voice was cold. Nirvana realm is the territory that I chose. The woman's heart trembled. She didn't expect Dmo Xian to treat her with such an attitude. It could be seen that Nirvana realm had a very deep obsession with Dmo Xian. She rolled her eyes as an indifferent expression appeared on her gorgeous face. I'm not interested in the inferior realm, but since the W map is there, I will strengthen the security of Nirvana realm. The woman seemed to have thought of something as her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of demonic light. Speaking of which, since you already know the whereabouts of the W map, why didn't you bring it back? Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes. What does it have to do with you? I'm just reminding you not to let unnecessary feelings affect your future. The woman chuckled. After all, if you succeed, then I can follow you. To ascend, isn't it? Dmo Xian's half-narrowed peach blossom eyes were piercingly cold. Facing Dmo Xian's deep and cold gaze, the woman's lips curled into a teasing arc. Why? Did I poke into your thoughts again? Her words paused as her curved willow leaf brows raised frivolously. No choice, who asked me. To be the person who understands you the most. Dmo Xian frowned as his peach blossom eyes were as black as ink with a cold glint. Baisu, don't think too highly of yourself. The woman covered her mouth as she laughed out. Kid from the Imperial Palace, I haven't heard you call me by my full name for a long time. The woman stepped forward, her face filled with curiosity. I'm suddenly interested in the Nirvana realm. Since I have to increase the security around the Nirvana realm, why don't I go personally this time? Baisu, Dmo Xian stared coldly at the woman. The strong wind around him stirred up his emotions, blowing his black hair that fell over his shoulders. Her complexion was slightly pale, giving off a cold feeling. His appearance was extremely mature and profound. Fine, I won't tease you anymore. The woman raised her hands in surrender. Her beautiful face was like a blooming rose, extremely beautiful. Dmo Xian turned and left. Hey, kid from Imperial Palace, the W diagram is no small matter. As for you, you wanted to hide the whereabouts of the W map, but you also said that there were others who also sensed the existence of the W map. If you can't protect the W diagram well, don't blame us for interfering. The woman called out to him with a serious expression as she looked at Dmo Xian's back. The man stopped in his tracks, his eyes sharp. You're meddling too much, old lady Baisu. The woman's expression stiffened. Immediately, she suddenly went berserk. A slap, carrying thousands of wind waves, rushed towards Dmo Xian like a surging tide. I'll kill you, you ungrateful brat. Dmo Xian's figure moved. He had long disappeared in the high mountains. Chapter 2163. Leaving the towering mountain range. The expression on Dmo Xian's face turned extremely indifferent. Between his brows, there were emotions of contemplation. Dark forces. Godless island. These two forces would mysteriously entangle Yiqing Luo. It was probably because of the W diagram. This map had always been in the care of Yi Fengyu's mother, the madam of the Yi clan. Yi Tianquang should have married Yi Fengyu's mother for the W diagram. But if the clue was on Yi Fengyu's mother, Yiqing Luo wasn't a descendant of the Yi family. Not only did she have no blood relations with the Yi family, she also didn't have any blood relations with Madame Yi. If the W diagram was to be handed over, it should be handed over to Yi Fengyu. He remembered that Godless Island's three evils had once tried to snatch Yiqing Luo's profound phoenix ring. Perhaps it was to search for the Tianshu map on Yiqing Luo's body, whereas the dark forces kept on using profound Inshi to get close to Yiqing Luo. The dark forces wanted to obtain Yiqing Luo's profound heart jade, and they wanted Yiqing Luo's body, which could nurture the divine phoenix profound heart jade, to be the vessel for the profound heart jade, and to control it in their own hands. Furthermore, he would make use of Yiqing Luo's profound heart jade to search for the whereabouts of the vast water god relic. Yiqing Luo didn't know, but he was very clear. The collective vast water divine artifact would become a key. As for what kind of key it was, no one knew at the moment. However, the only thing that could be confirmed was the vast water divine artifact and the W diagram were inextricably linked. Looking at Godless Island, making use of Dao Yigan to disguise as she Shanglan to get close to Yiqing Luo, brainwashing the devil classes students in an attempt to gain Yiqing Luo's trust. Then, after being exposed, directly making use of the treasure house auction house, he set up a god array to send Yiqing Luo to the 21st century. Then, he thought of the netherworld he had encountered in the 21st century. Yu Ming took out that crystal ball named Tracking Search Bomb and followed Yiqing Luo into the Yi family's ancestors' tomb. What was tracking and searching for was probably the Tianshu map. He could not find it in the Nirvana realm. Godless Island set its sights on their ancestors' tomb in the 21st century. Bit by bit, the clues gradually became clear in his mind. DMO Xian's eyes were cold and indifferent, turning even more icy cold and incisive. Although Lil Luo didn't like him interfering in her matters. But he had to make a trip to Godless Island. His little Luo heir. No one could be bullied. West Continent, Three Springs Sect Mansion. Yiqing Luo rested in Three Springs Sect for a full 5 days. Until the Heavenly Academy sent someone over to urge her, Yiqing Luo still had no intention to go to the Heavenly Academy. These few days, Yiqing Luo shut herself in the Azure Dew bracelet, cultivating nonstop. First, she used the Dragon God's furnace to refine pills for her 2 holy beasts that were still in deep sleep. That stock of returning heaven primordial serene grass, which was worth 70 million gold coins, along with a bunch of precious herbs that could help to raise profound strength, were thrown into the furnace as if they were free. If there were any knowledgeable bystanders present at this time, they would probably be so shocked that their hearts would not be able to take it. Not to mention the returning heaven essence, serene grass, that was worth 70 million. As for the other precious medicinal herbs and herbs, if it was placed in an auction house, it would definitely be a medicinal herb that everyone would go crazy over. Yiqing Luo totally didn't care about it. After the refining was successful, Yiqing Luo directly fed these pills, which used up a large amount of precious medicinal herbs, to the 2 holy beasts. This made those Xiao Jin and the rest who followed Elder Yunyun to urge Yiqing Luo to go to school after Yiqing Luo came out of her closed-door cultivation. Chapter 2164. Was there need to waste God's gift like this? Xiao Jin and the others expressed how they wished they could be Yiqing Luo's war pet. Yiqing Luo looked at those pairs of eyes which were flickering with a wolf's glint as she rolled her eyes. Forget it. There's a share for my 2 little treasures, so naturally there's a share for all of you too. Xiao Jin's wolf's glint grew as he pounced over directly. Ah, Madam Qing Luo, Goddess Qing Luo, you're our faith. Yin Xiao, who was standing by the side, grabbed onto Xiao Jin as her face was filled with black lines as she facepalmed. Slut Jin, stop embarrassing yourself. Come back here. Xiao Jin flailed his arms. with a look as though he wouldn't give up until he got the pill. This pair of clowns made the atmosphere in the room ease up by quite a bit. Yin Duan was all smiles as he stroked his white beard as he looked at Yi-Ching Luo. Student Yi-Ching Luo is indeed Ghost Doctor's only disciple. I'd not expected to be able to refine this kind of high-grade pill successfully. Furthermore, from the sounds of it, the quantity wasn't little. Generally speaking, the higher the grade of the pill, the lower the success rate and the lesser the number of pills refined. Like the heaven-returning primordial serene grass, which was a 1 in 1,000 years precious herb, coupled with so many rare medicinal herbs, even if one's luck was off the charts, to be able to refine one pill was already a joyous occasion. Not only did Yi-Ching Luo succeed, moreover, not just one pill. That was a pill refined from the heaven-returning primordial serene grass. Based on Yi-Ching Luo's pill refining ability, she would absolutely be able to advance to the next grade or even breakthrough. Yun Xiang, who was following behind Yin Duan, a glint flashed past his eyes. When Yi-Ching Luo heard Yin Duan's praise, she humbly raised her pink lips. You can only get what you're willing to give up. These are all extremely precious medicinal herbs, so the success rate is naturally higher. Our student Yi-Ching Luo has the Overlord's full support, Mu family and the entire Alchemist Guild's full support, and also Treasure Gathering Pavilion Shi siblings. Yin Xiang walked out from behind Yin Duan as he smiled. Of course, student Yi-Ching Luo is willing. Indeed, you can only get what you're willing to give up. Yin Duan's expression congealed as he suppressed his voice and berated Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang seemed as though he didn't hear anything as he continued asking with a smile. Student Yi-Ching Luo, how many heaven-returning serene pills have you refined this time? Just as Yin Xiang finished his words, the faces of Qiao Jin, Yin Xiao Yi, and the rest instantly turned ashen. What did he mean by the Di Zun before him and the Mu family after him? Even the Shi siblings were dragged into this? Wasn't this obviously ridiculing their Ching Luo for only knowing how to rely on others? Yin Xiao Yi sneered. She couldn't hold back her temper. Elder Yin Xiang, why do I hear that your words sound so sour? Why? My Ching Luo has refined a high top-grade pill, and you're envious and jealous. You. Yin Xiang's smile froze as he glared at Yin Xiao Yi. She was just about to open her mouth to refute when Tong Ziqing, who had a cold expression on her face, slowly walked forward and stood in front of Yin Xiao Yi. Her cold and beautiful aura was completely released. Elder Yin Xiang, you're an elder of the Heavenly Academy and represent the Heavenly Academy. Such baseless words coming out from your mouth. It represents the Heavenly Academy to be doubting our Ching Luo, that we have relied on this and that, to get to where we are today, today's status. Tong Ziqing's voice was cold and indifferent as her lips curled into a sneer which didn't reach her eyes. Chapter 2165. Yin Xiang couldn't refute it all. Yin Duan pulled Yin Xiang behind him and revealed a kind smile. Student Yi-Ching Luo, this old man is here to invite you back to the academy. As for alchemy, that's your private matter. We shouldn't ask too much. Elder Yun Yun is still the most sensible. Yin Xiaoyi scoffed and glared at Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang's face alternated between green and white. To allow a student to be so impudent, how could he, as an elder, maintain his dignity in the academy in the future? However, without waiting for Yin Xiang to attack, a clear and melodious voice interrupted him. I've left the academy for so long, and I miss the academy life. Today, let's go back to the Heavenly Academy. Yin Duan heard this and laughed. Actually, with Yi-Ching Luo's current strength, she doesn't need any guidance from the academy. Student Yi-Ching Luo is the most talented student I have ever seen. His words weren't to flatter Yi-Ching Luo. That was the truth. A supreme expert of the sky, profound realm. In the Heavenly Academy, most of the masters were not Yi-Ching Luo's match. Yi-Ching Luo had completely achieved the ability to graduate. Yi-Ching Luo smiled lightly. Elder Yin Duan, what are you talking about? No matter what my profound grade is, I am still a student of the Heavenly Academy. Yin Duan laughed. Good, good, good. She will not become arrogant just because she is strong. Student Yi Qing Luo's temperament is worthy for the Heavenly Academy's students to learn from. Yi Qing Luo smiled slightly. Yin Duan gave Yin Xiang a look, signaling him to shut up. Following that, he walked over to Yi Qing Luo. Student Yi Qing Luo is now the pride of the Heavenly Academy, and also the hero in the hearts of all the students. If you can return to the Academy, you will definitely be able to bring the students of various classes to work hard and cultivate. Elder Yin Duan need not flatter me. I'm just an ordinary student in Devil class. Yi Qing Luo shook her head modestly. Let's go to the Academy now. Of course, she had to make a trip back to the Academy. The dark forces had fallen. It was time for the Heavenly Dean to step down. Otherwise, how could he face the students who had died in the flame nest? She, Yi Qing Luo, was a person who would definitely take revenge. The Heavenly Academy dared to scheme against her. Then he had to be mentally prepared to bear the consequences. The group of people headed towards the Heavenly Academy in a mighty manner. This scene quickly spread throughout Three Springs City. For example, Heavenly Academy's #1 Grand Elder personally welcoming Yi Qing Luo back to the Academy. For example, Yi Qing Luo was the biggest signboard of the Heavenly Academy, so this year's Best Academy would still be the Heavenly Academy. For example, Yi Qing Luo heard the cries of alarm and the commoners' discussions. They also knew that it was the Heavenly Academy's intention for them to be surrounded by the crowd as they walked on the road in a mighty manner. It was to make use of her current reputation to help the Heavenly Academy. Yi Qing Luo sat on the soft carriage which was supported by a few of the Academy's servants as she lazily leaned against the cushion. He couldn't be bothered to wave his hand and sell a smile to the people around him. Why did she have such an attitude? In the eyes of his diehard fans, he was handsome and cool. Cloud rode a brown horse and followed the carriage at a steady pace. He glanced sideways as he smiled at Yi Qing Luo. That's right, student Yi Qing Luo. The principal asked me to bring you a message. What? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows when she heard that. Cloud Duan stared at Yi Qing Luo's expression without blinking. He said, he has agreed to your conditions. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up as she smiled without any surprise. Many thanks to Elder Cloud Duan for bringing the message. The General Hospital would agree to her request. Chapter 2166. I'm very curious. What is the condition that director mentioned? Yin Duan asked straightforwardly. Yi Qing Luo liked this kind of straightforward person as she smiled sweetly. This is a secret between me and the Academy. Yin Duan laughed loudly and didn't continue asking. Only occasionally, that profound gaze would sweep past Yi Qing Luo, as though he wanted to know what Yi Qing Luo was thinking about. Or perhaps, he wanted to know what secret Yi Qing Luo was hiding. Although Yin Duan was an old fox. But how could Yi Qing Luo, this little fox, let Yin Duan see through her emotions so easily? The corners of her mouth were still curving upwards. Her eyes were calm without any ripples. But in her heart, she was replaying what she had said to the Academy's director in her mind. The Academy's director had agreed to her request. That meant that the current her and the World Mercenary Group had an inseparable relationship with the Academy. They were on the same boat. The World Group had the Academy's support. Their future development would definitely be impressive. When they reached the Academy, they hadn't had the chance to hold a special welcoming ceremony. Suddenly, they saw a lady dressed in a student's attire running over in a fluster. Oh no! Oh no! Someone from the upper profound hall is here. Those students who were originally crowding at the Academy's entrance, preparing to welcome Yi Qing Luo, instantly quietened down when they heard this sentence. The students opened up a path. That female student rushed to the Academy's entrance. Elder Yin Duan, the director has been looking for you. Yi Qing Luo had just stepped down from the carriage as she raised her eyes to look at that female student. Shall you? What happened? That female student was the current vice president of the faculty council, Lu Xiaoyu. On seeing Yi Qing Luo, Lu Xiaoyu's pretty face revealed a joyous expression. She took a step forward and rushed in front of Yi Qing Luo, hugging her fiercely. Qing Luo, long time no see. Long time no see. Following that, Without waiting for Yi Qing Luo's response, she let go of Yi Qing Luo and rushed towards Yin Duan's direction. Elder Yin Duan, quickly go to the field. Director alone can't withstand the pressure from the people from the upper profound hall. Yi Qing Luo. Good gay friends hadn't seen each other for a long time. Shouldn't they give each other a warm hug? Just a hug was enough. Profound hall. Yin Duan's face darkened. Why are there people from there? I don't know. It seems like they are looking for someone. Lu Xiaoyu replied in a panic. The elders have all gone over. The dean asked me to find you and let you go over to negotiate. Yin Duan frowned and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Student Yi Qing Luo, I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Talk to you later. Yi Qing Luo smiled faintly and nodded. Elder Yin Duan, please go ahead. The news of Upper Profound Hall's arrival also dispersed the crowd of students to welcome Yi Qing Luo's joyous mood. Everyone was guessing what the Upper Mystic Hall was. Why did the dean and the elders all have such grave expressions? This atmosphere inexplicably became somewhat heavy and oppressive. Yi Qing Luo took the opportunity to pull Lu Xiaoyu as they walked past the students and slipped into the academy. The group of people slipped into the academy dormitory. There was no one else in the dormitory. Yi Qing Luo dragged Lu Xiaoyu to sit beside the wooden chair. What is the Upper Profound Hall? Chapter 2167. Yi Qing Luo shot a glance behind her. Xiao Jin thought for a moment, then said, second floor of the library, the ghost doctor's medicine refining room, heavenly training forest, heavenly ancestral hall. He paused and looked at Yin Xiao. There shouldn't be any other place? I don't think so. Yin Xiao, he shook her head. The students of the devil class for so many years have been training by themselves in the courtyard of the devil class. As for the internal affairs of the Heavenly Academy, he did not understand much. The Heavenly Academy's biggest forbidden grounds seemed to be these four places. Yi Qing Luo turned to look at Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu nodded solemnly. The Upper Profound Hall is the Upper Profound Ancestral Hall. The people who live there, that's right, they were humans. The people who lived in the Ancestral Hall. The Heavenly Academy's Ancestral Hall, although it was called an Ancestral Hall, was actually an independent courtyard. Apart from the annual ritual, even Principal Zhang was not allowed to approach the courtyard. The students did not pay much attention to this Ancestral Hall. Hence, it was not only the Devil class students who did not know about it. Shangshuan Ancestral Hall. The other students of the Heavenly Academy did not know much about this Ancestral Hall. Live in the Ancestral Hall. The corner of Xiao Jin's mouth twitched. Could it be that the Heavenly Hall is the old ancestor of the Heavenly Academy? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. She actually had some impression of this Ancestral Hall. At that time, she had specially scanned the entire academy and mapped out the route of the academy in her mind. He also passed by this Ancestral Hall. Ancestral halls and whatnot were the golden treasures for acting cool. She thought about sneaking in. However, he was stopped by Old Man Song. The reason was that the Ancestral Hall of the Heavenly Academy was filled with the memorial tablets of the previous deans of the academy, which gathered the aura of the various deans. If he got too close, his spirit body would be harmed. Yi Qing Luo then dispelled the idea of exploring the Ancestral Hall. Unexpectedly, behind this Ancestral Hall was the so-called Upper Shin Hall. Furthermore, the status of the Upper Mystical Hall in the academy was clearly very high. The dean could not hold on any longer. All the elders went to welcome him. At that time, Old Man Song had stopped her from entering the Ancestral Hall. It was probably because he had sensed the aura of the Ancestral Hall. DMO Xian came to the Heavenly Academy a few times. It was unknown if he had noticed the Shangshuan Hall of the Shangshuan Ancestral Hall. Xiaoyu, this Upper Xian Palace, has disappeared for such a long time. Why did they suddenly appear in the academy in broad daylight this time? Yin Xiao, he looked at Lu Xiaoyu and asked curiously. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. Not long ago, the people from the Profound Palace suddenly appeared on the field. When the president received the news, he rushed over and kowtowed to that person 3 times and 9 times. He asked me to immediately call the dean and the elders over to welcome him. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Si and Mu had met the people from the upper profound palace? From the looks of it, he must have seen it before. Lu Xiaoyu said. You said the upper profound hall is looking for someone. Do you know who they're looking for? Yi Qing Luo nodded thoughtfully. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. I don't know. I didn't even get a good look at the people from the upper mystical hall before I was chased away by the president to call the principal and the elders. The people from the upper Xian palace suddenly appeared at this moment. It wasn't that Yi Qing Luo was narcissistic. She had a feeling that the people from the upper Xian palace were probably aiming for. Her thoughts had yet to settle down. Outside the dormitory, there was a sudden knock on the door. Yin Xiang's voice was heard. Student Yi Qing Luo, are you inside? Come out quickly. The envoy from the upper profound palace wants to see you. Whatever she said really came true. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched. She expressed that if she couldn't continue on in the future. Chapter 2168. A few pairs of eyes shot towards Yi Qing Luo in unison. The person whom Upper Profound Palace was looking for was Yi Qing Luo. How did the people from Upper Profound Palace know that Yi Qing Luo was returning to the academy today? Why did he feel that it wasn't a good thing for the people from Upper Profound Palace to meet Yi Qing Luo? Student Yi Qing Luo, if you hear me, open the door immediately. The envoys of the High Xian Palace do not have the habit of waiting for people. Yin Xiang knocked on the door with a displeased expression. He could clearly sense the presence of people in the dormitory, but no one inside responded to him. Yin Xiang suppressed his anger and growled once again, Student Yi Qing Luo, if you don't come out, then don't blame this elder for forcing my way in. There was still no response from inside the house. Yin Xiang was so angry that his face turned green, and he immediately rushed to the dormitory door. Creak! The door opened. Yin Xiang lost his footing and staggered into the dormitory. His body bumped into a wooden table at the side before he managed to stabilize himself. Outside the dormitory, the students snickered softly. Yin Xiang was angry and annoyed. He steadied himself and glared at the few people standing at the door. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a teasing arc. Her long and narrow eyes curved into a smile, which didn't look like a smile. The glint in her eyes seemed to be ridiculing him. Whereas Lu Xiaoyu tilted her head as she stood by Yi Qing Luo's side, blinking her eyes with an innocent look which almost made Yin Xiang mad. Xiao Jin, Yin Xiao, Yi, and Tong Ziqing crossed their arms in front of their chests, looking at him calmly. This group of students. He was clearly doing it on purpose to embarrass him. She was purposely making a fool out of him. Yi Qing Luo, you, Yin Xiang angrily rebuked. Elder Yin Xiang, where is the envoy from Upper Profound Palace waiting for me? Yi Qing Luo's light voice directly interrupted Yin Xiang. Yin Xiang's words faltered. He clenched his fists tightly under his sleeves. Fine. Let Yi Qing Luo be complacent for a while. As long as one was targeted by the High Mystic Hall, their ending would not be pretty. Just from the way the Profound Hall's emissary mentioned, Yi Qing Luo's attitude was enough to tell. For the Upper Profound Hall's envoy to look for Yi Qing Luo, it definitely wasn't a good thing. If they could borrow the Profound Palace's hands to get rid of Yi Qing Luo, in this heavenly academy, no one would dare to defy their elders. Yi Qing Luo could see the murderous intent and evil thoughts flowing in Yin Xiang's eyes clearly. She scoffed and curled her lips disapprovingly. Elder Yin Xiang, didn't you say that the messenger doesn't have the patience to wait for people? Aren't you going to lead the way? Yin Xiang glanced at her coldly. Student Yi Qing Luo, your arrogant attitude could be used in front of this elder, but in front of the Upper Profound Hall's envoy, you'd better restrain yourself. Yi Qing Luo gave a slight smile as she didn't mind. Don't think that this elder is scaring you. The last time the emissary from the Upper Xian Palace appeared in the academy was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they took away a person from the academy. That person has never appeared in the academy since then. Yin Xiang purposely suppressed his voice to create a strange atmosphere. Unexpectedly, Yi Qing Luo only raised her brows. Speaking of which, are there not many missing people in the Heavenly Academy? Yin Xiang's expression turned steely green. Yiqing Luo smiled and led the few of them out of the dormitory. Yin Xiang was behind him with a ferocious expression. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down until the anger in his heart dissipated. He then walked out of the dormitory. Yiqing Luo and the others were already a distance away. Qing Luo, Elder Yin Xiang's words don't sound fake. Heavenly Profound Palace's envoy is looking for you. Surely it can't be that. They want to take you away, right? Chapter 21:69. When Xiao Jin and the others heard this, the expressions on their faces instantly became grave as well. According to Lu Xiaoyu's speculation, the Upper Xian Hall should have an extremely high standing in this academy. Moreover, it was a symbolic existence. If what Yin Xiang said wasn't true, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. That could be considered as Yin Xiang slandering Upper Xian Palace. Yin Xiang probably didn't have the guts. Therefore, it was highly possible that the news of the envoy from the Upper Xian Palace taking away someone from the academy was true. Yin Xiaoyi quickly walked in front of Yiqing Luo. Qing Luo, why don't we go over take a look at what's going on? If there's no danger, then we'll call you over. Yiqing Luo had just returned to the academy and met with such a matter. The upper mystical hall was too mysterious. Although Yiqing Luo was very powerful now, but against those mysterious people who lived in the ancestral hall, it was too strange. Since the envoy from the Upper Xian Palace has specifically asked for me, what if he takes his anger out on you guys if I don't go? Yiqing Luo raised her hand and cupped Yin Xiaoyi's face. That messenger is on the field and with so many students and elders watching, the messenger can't do anything to me. What's more, it might not be a bad thing for the emissary to summon me. Maybe he wants to reward me? Reward? Impossible. Everyone shook their heads simultaneously. Yiqing Luo's smile gradually deepened as her fingers couldn't help but pinched Yin Xiaoyi's face. No one knows what exactly is going on, so we'll know when we go over and take a look. Don't think so much. Yin Xiaoyi glared at her with her beautiful eyes and grabbed her hands away. I'm not a cat, not a shadow. Don't pinch my face. Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand and took a look at Tong Ziqing before her gaze finally fell onto Yin Xiaoyi. After staring for a while, Yiqing Luo decisively stretched out her devil's claw towards Yin Xiaoyi's face. You and Ziqing are standing together. Your face is more suitable to pinch. Her hand has yet to touch Yin Xiaoyi. He was intercepted by Xiao Jin halfway. Xiao Jin bore that unprepossessing face as he smiled at Yiqing Luo. Stop pinching my wife. Come pinch me. Come pinch me. Saying that, he even placed his face in front of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo shot a disdainful glance at his ordinary face. Xiao Jin's skin was very delicate and looked very smooth. However, when his facial features were put together, he looked extremely ordinary. Yiqing Luo retracted her hand and rolled her eyes as she snorted. Are you trying to take revenge on me by showing off your dog food? I won't pinch you. If I pinch your face off, won't you chase after me for 10 streets? Xiao Jin's cheeky smile froze. There was a trace of shock in his deep eyes. Very quickly, he regained his senses and leaned his head towards Yin Xiaoyi's shoulder, acting like a little wife. Wife, Qing Luo despises me. Bah! Yin Xiaoyi pushed his head. Who's your wife? Don't call me that. But Xiao Jin refused to let go of Yin Xiaoyi. A pair of enemies began to love and kill each other again. As for Yiqing Luo's earlier sentence of human face, these 3 words, he didn't seem to take it to heart. When Yin Xiang caught up to them, he saw such a leisurely and contented atmosphere. His beard was blown away by the anger that came out of his nostrils. But this time, he wisely chose to keep his mouth shut. If they were to bicker, he wasn't a match for this bunch of sluts. When he met the Upper Profound Palace's envoy, he would like to see how this bunch of sluts could still be so insolent. Along the way, they were fooling around. The anxiousness from before had all dissipated cleanly. Chapter 2170. Xiaoyi, what's wrong with your tummy? Did you eat something earlier? Xiao Jin heard Yin Xiaoyi crying out in pain and immediately held onto her shoulders anxiously, looking at her tummy worriedly. Yin Xiao leaned into Qiao Jin's arms as her forehead broke out in cold sweat from the pain. I don't know, slut Jin, carry me to the latrine. I can't take it anymore. His beloved little woman was in such pain. How could Xiao Jin see anyone else? He immediately carried Yin Xiao horizontally, and like the wind, he dashed towards the direction of the latrine. If it wasn't for the Academy's rule that they were not allowed to use profound energy, Xiao Jin couldn't wait to inject his profound energy into his legs and dashed towards the latrine. Seeing Xiao Jin's figure disappear in a blink of an eye, Yin Xiang's expression was extremely ugly. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips rose slightly as she looked at Yin Xiang. Elder Yin Xiang, please don't mind it. You also know that young people are like this when they are passionately in love. Her words paused, and she seemed to have said something wrong as she covered her mouth and turned her head away. I've forgotten that Elder Yin Xiang has never tasted the feeling of passionately in love, so naturally you won't understand the feelings of these young people. Yin Xiang's expression turned even uglier. She had successfully caused trouble for Yin Xiang. Yi Qing Luo happily held on to Tong Zi Qing as she walked leisurely into the Academy's training field. Yi Qing Luo was stuck in the middle of the training field at one glance as 5 solemn and respectful figures stood there. Standing right in front was an elderly dressed in a bronze-green brocade robe. The elderly's figure was extremely skinny, with white sideburns, and his face was as skinny as a match, giving off an extremely repulsive feeling. Especially those 2 eyes, which were sunken deeply, which made Yi Qing Luo inexplicably think of a skeleton in human skin. This elderly wasn't simple. The aura emitted from his body made one shudder. Behind the elderly stood a row of men dressed in dark green robes. Their figures were tall and sturdy and should be that elderly's bodyguards. In a pile of greenish white, suddenly 5 different shades of deep green appeared. Yi Qing Luo expressed vicious eyes. The director and a few elders stood by the side with a fawning smile on their faces. I've not expected that after so many years, Sir Envoy has once again descended upon Heavenly Academy. It's Heavenly Academy's honor. The old man in the lead snorted coldly without any expression in his eyes. A guard behind him stepped forward, cupped his fists, and bowed respectfully to the dean. Dean, please don't stand on ceremony. Just bring our Hall Master's men over. The guard's actions were respectful, but his expression and tone were clearly threatening. Director felt a chill down his spine as the fawning smile on his face turned stiff. Yes, yes, yes. Elder Yin Xiang has already gone to call for her. Student Yi Qing Luo will be here very soon. He paused and carefully looked at the elderly man's expression as he probed. Sir Envoy, I wonder what's the reason why Hall Master is looking for student Yi Qing Luo? The old man narrowed his malicious eyes and glanced at the dean in disdain. His gaze was as if he was looking at an ant. Do you think that you can understand the thoughts of Lord Hall Master? Yes, yes, yes. I've overstepped my boundaries. The dean bowed his head and admitted defeat. The elders behind him were also sweating profusely as they looked around. Why hasn't Yin Xiang brought him over yet? The surrounding students were all standing by the side to spectate, pointing and discussing the current situation. They were all guessing what kind of place this heavenly hall was. And who was the hall master? Why were they looking for student Yi Qing Luo? From this stance, apparently it wasn't anything good. Yet the director was trying to please these people. Chapter 2171. Sir Envoy, student Yi Qing Luo is a student of our Heavenly Academy. As an elder of the Academy, we have the right to know why the Profound Palace is looking for student Yi Qing Luo. Yin Duan, who was standing behind the dean, smiled faintly. His smile was gentle and warm. There wasn't any hint of contradiction, but the expression on the face of the Profound Palace's envoy turned gloomy. That pair of bright eyes swept coldly towards Yin Duan. The dean's face turned pale as he glared fiercely at Yin Duan, signaling him to shut up. But Yin Duan's expression didn't change as he smiled gently. Sir Envoy, do you think there's anything wrong with what I said? The envoy gritted his teeth gloomily. Elder Yin Duan is wholeheartedly thinking for the student. There's nothing wrong with what Elder Yin Duan said. These words were said through gritted teeth. The dean's face turned pale as he turned his head and stared at Yin Duan. Yin Duan didn't seem to feel the threat and warning from the envoy. He nodded slightly and continued with a smile. Sir Envoy also feels that what I said is right. Then can I ask the Sir Envoy to tell me why you want to see student Yi Qing Luo? Elder Yin Duan. The respectful guard behind the envoy bellowed angrily. The envoy raised his hand and stopped the guard. Then he slowly raised his head with a sinister look. I don't know the specific reason why the Lord wants to see student Yi Qing Luo. Yin Duan frowned slightly. Just as she was about to say something, the director had already cut in. No matter what the reason is, Hall Master wants to meet student Yi Qing Luo, that is student Yi Qing Luo's honor and also our Heavenly Academy's honor. Student Yi Qing Luo should be grateful. The dean's flattering words didn't ease the envoy's expression. The envoy snorted coldly. The Lord had not asked about the Heavenly Academy for a few years, and now a small elder can climb over your head. This has really broadened my knowledge. The dean lowered his head with an ugly expression. A sense of resentment towards Yin Duan arose from the bottom of his heart. The envoy was obviously dissatisfied with Yin Duan. These words were also telling him that if he wanted the profound palace to support the Heavenly Academy, this Yin Duan must not stay. The envoy glanced at the dean and snorted. You haven't brought the person? You're such a waste. You even need to invite a student 3 or 4 times. The dean felt extremely ashamed. The surrounding students began to gesticulate and discuss even louder. The principal's face turned red, and his hands were clenched so tightly that veins popped up on his fists. Yunwan's brows furrowed even more. He looked at the gloomy emissaries and guards in front of him, and then at the dean's embarrassed expression. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. The attitude of the Upper Xian Palace. Apparently looking for Yi Qing Luo was definitely not a good thing. He had just left for 3 Springs Sect to fetch Yi Qing Luo back to the academy. Someone from the Upper Mystic Hall came. Was this really just a coincidence? If the Upper Profound Palace insisted on bringing Yi Qing Luo away forcefully, even if he risked his position as the Grand Elder, he would definitely ensure Yi Qing Luo's safety. After all, Yi Qing Luo was now the living signboard of the Heavenly Academy. She was the person whom the General Hospital had repeatedly urged them to protect. He was the savior of the Western continent. He was the idol of the Nirvana realm. If something were to happen to Yi Qing Luo in the Heavenly Academy, those various powerhouses which had been saved by Yi Qing Luo would absolutely not take it lying down. Just as the atmosphere was strangely gloomy, suddenly there was an explosion of exclamation from the surrounding students. Chapter 2172. Yi Qing Luo. When the students heard this, they immediately turned their heads in the direction of the voice. The dean and a few elders also turned around. Sure enough, he saw Yi Qing Luo walking over from the other side of the training ground. Behind Yi Qing Luo, there was only Tong Ziqing alone. The students looked at each other. Why didn't she bring along all the students from the devil class? The more people there are, the stronger the aura. She probably doesn't know that the High Xian Palace is here to cause trouble. Then what should we do? Should we help student Yi Qing Luo to support her? Let's not do it. High Profound Palace is obviously not to be trifled with. If we help student Yi Qing Luo, what if High Profound Palace takes their anger out on us? But student Yi Qing Luo has helped us so much. She even saved the West Continent. Is it really all right for us to sit back and do nothing? If you want to interfere, you can do it yourselves. I'm not going to interfere. When the students saw Yi Qing Luo, they started to discuss in low voices. When the emissary heard the words of the surrounding students, a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. He gave a cold smile as his gaze fixed onto Yi Qing Luo. Long before they came, they had heard of Yi Qing Luo's beauty, but he saw it with his own eyes, especially in this place, which was filled with greenish-white uniforms. The academy students were extremely excited. The girl's flame-like red dress was extremely eye-catching. The young girl's movements were like flowing flames. There were very few people who could make red look so alluring. Sir Envoy, this is the Yi Qing Luo whom you're looking for. I brought her over. When Yun Xiang saw the envoy, he immediately went forward and smiled. As he pointed at Yi Qing Luo, he couldn't help but laugh coldly in his heart. In this heavenly academy, Yi Qing Luo, this wretched lass who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, if she offended the upper profound palace's envoy, he wanted to see who else could save her. The envoy didn't even bother to take a look at Yun Xiang as his gaze was fixed on Yi Qing Luo without blinking. The expression on his face was as cold as ice. Yun Xiang twitched his mouth awkwardly and retreated to Yun Yun's side. The atmosphere was so tense that it was a little strange, until Yi Qing Luo walked to the side of the director and stopped in her tracks. Director seemed to have found an opportunity to break the silence as he grabbed Yi Qing Luo's wrist and pulled her towards the direction of the envoy. "Sir Envoy, this is Yi Qing Luo." Yi Qing Luo didn't struggle as she allowed the director to pull her in front of the envoy. She looked up and met the messenger's eyes at close range. Shortly after, her pink lips curled up and her eyes shimmered. "Are you the messenger from the Upper Shin Palace? I wonder why the emissary came out of the ancestral hall to look for me." The malice in the emissary's eyes deepened. He looked at the girl in front of him without blinking. He didn't find any trace of fear in the girl's eyes. Her tone was leisurely and her expression was calm. He couldn't be any more relaxed. The messenger was almost certain. This young girl did not fear them at all. Yi Qing Luo said the two words ancestral hall. They were clearly aware of the usefulness of their heavenly hall to the heavenly academy. However, she was still fearless towards them. A hint of interest and coldness rose in the emissary's eyes. The dean kept staring at the messenger's expression. Seeing the emissary's arrogance lowering, he immediately shouted angrily, "Presumptuous! Yi Qing Luo, do you know who this is? How dare you use this kind of attitude to speak to the Sir Envoy?" Uff. Chapter 2173. Yi Qing Luo's words could be said to have totally disregarded the director's face. She had returned to the academy this time. She had no intention to maintain a friendly exchange with the director, directly shed all pretenses, and start a war. Being humiliated by a student, the director's face turned green with anger. "Yi Qing Luo, you, how dare you disrespect your teacher?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she gave a glance at the director with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. Then, as though she couldn't see him, her vision fell back onto the envoy. "You couldn't wait to invite me over just to look at me affectionately?" Envoy, guard, the surrounding students. This young lady was extraordinary, totally not following the script. Which young lady would say the words affectionate to an old man? Wasn't she afraid of ruining her own reputation? "Yi Qing Luo, you don't know what's good for you." The director frowned as he fiercely pinched Yi Qing Luo's wrist again. This time his hand grabbed empty air. Yi Qing Luo took a step back as her long and narrow eyes curved with a calm smile. "Director, can you not disturb me talking to the envoy? You are wasting the envoy's time and also wasting my time, and even more so, wasting the student's time." She paused slightly as her smile changed and became dazzling. "As the director of the academy, don't you feel guilty for wasting everyone's time?" The director was speechless. His face flushed red, sometimes black, sometimes ashen. His facial features had turned extremely sinister. "Director." Yun Duan immediately went forward, supporting the director's trembling body. "The envoy is still here. Don't be too angry." The director's body was still trembling with Yun Duan's support. When he heard Yun Duan's words, his sinister expression stiffened. "Sir Envoy, please don't be calculative with this little slut." The director tried hard to stabilize his emotions as he pushed Yun Duan away and tried his best to smile in the direction of the envoy. This Yi Qing Luo has always been relying on her outstanding innate talent, and behind her, he paused as he carefully looked at the envoy's expression. The envoy's expression was indifferent as his gaze was malicious, not knowing what he was thinking. The dean decided to cover up the matter about the Overlord. If the Upper Profound Palace knew that Yi Qing Luo's backing was the Overlord, they wouldn't dare to offend the Overlord and let Yi Qing Luo off easily. As the dean, wasn't he too useless? He was thinking of making use of the profound hall to get rid of Yi Qing Luo, this thorn in his side. The headmaster continued, relying on the fact that she has the backing of a few teachers in the academy. She has been acting like a tyrant in the academy. Not long ago, he was lucky enough to attract the heavenly axiom historian of the upper realm and conveniently settled a great war in the West Continent. Now, she really regarded herself as the savior of the world and did not put anyone in her eyes. The dean's words were so shameless that the surrounding students' respect and goodwill for the dean plummeted. Was this really something a dean of an academy should say? It was simply too shameless. It was too outrageous, wasn't it? To actually distort black and white like this. Some students wanted to retort, but when he saw the warning look in Yun Xiang's eyes, the students shut their mouths again, no matter how indignant they felt in their hearts. But they were, after all, students of the Heavenly Academy. They still wanted to mingle in the Heavenly Academy and to graduate from the Heavenly Academy. Everyone was selfish. How could they possibly destroy their own future just because of a Yi Qing Luo?